crosses through the corona, and then comes back to Earth. When it comes back to Earth, it uploads or downloads, uploads, depending on your perspective, I guess. Solar Probe would say it's uploading. We'd say we're downloading the information, whatever. So we get all the information from it, and then it goes back up.
How does this probe move?
How does anything move in space? What is an orbit?
From my understanding, you have to have gravity.
Mm-hmm. What's
right? Does the Earth have gravity? So now you need to still go back to improving this simple term of gravity.
Yeah. Does the Earth have gravity?
No.
Okay.
You do. Yes. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, you can't explain the phenomena, like we started out by saying gravitational
gravitational gradient navigation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which
you didn't really interact
you call
with
it gravitational gradient navigation, where I see it as they're measuring the density of the objects in the ocean
how are they measuring the density? How are they measuring the density? Because remember, they're trying to they're underwater, and they're trying to remain stealthy. So how do they measure the density of a mountain? So they avoid it? A wave?
Solar radar? That's a wave, isn't it?
Radar doesn't work on underwater.
Sonar, sorry.
They turn off their sonar in order to remain stealthy. That's the entire point of using gravitational gradient navigation. They're not sending sound waves out into the water column that can be detected by other people. If they don't do that, they can be really stealthy.
Then what are they sending out to read?
So I would have to look into the paper again. It has been a month or two since I read up on this. But they are
It would be a form of a wave, right?
No, they are able to have we're able to measure the acceleration change. Just like when, it might not have been you, but Blitz was saying earlier, one of the proofs of Earth's rotation is to weigh yourself at different latitudes. If you have or weigh a known weight at different latitudes on a sensitive enough scale. As you go to different latitudes, that weight is going to change. The gravitational acceleration is also going to change in gravitational gradient. As long as you have a sensitive enough device that is measuring that acceleration, you can map it out.
By the way, everyone, I was just gonna say, we'll probably just give it like a minute or two to finish this conversation, and then everyone in the chat's been asking me to add up Witsit, so I was gonna
go ahead. Witsit here. Have fun. I was Witsit can talk a little bit more science. Like I said, I bring my evidence and what I understand and how things work. I'm still trying to isolate this gravity.
All Witsit has is incredulity with Einstein and relativity, which is kind of funny because Einstein says the Earth is a globe. So,
all right. Well, 1024. You got anything else you want to say before I go on to the next person?
No, I enjoy the conversation. Hopefully, you guys keep questioning your reality.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care.
You too.
All right, let's get the next individual up here. This is gonna be the last person I do on this topic, and then I was thinking about going on to the next one. What's good?
What up? Man, I gotta correct you on so many things, man. You're saying so much misinformation, bro. Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, let's start with this, man. So, what about how we used interferometry and proved that the Earth wasn't orbiting the sun, and that's been done over millions of times now?
You mean Michelson-Morley, Michelson-Gale?
Michelson-Morley, and then Dayton Miller, and then even people in the last few years have done it, yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, you're good.
Yeah, no, my kid was running around naked after being in a bath yelling at me. Yeah, so that's not what that experiment was about, or even what they claimed was the result of that experiment.
Oh, what was the experiment about?
Yeah, they were looking for the ether. They felt that if the Earth was traveling through a ether, that they would be the ether. That result was null.
Josh, just letting you know it's cutting out, so do just give it a second. Once it comes back, you can restate what you just said. Give it a second, everyone. Again, in the meantime, everyone, tap that screen. Let's get to 500,000 likes, y'all, by the way. Before I do, I will probably go on. I don't know if we'll have time to do another topic today. I think we will after this conversation. Depends on how long this conversation goes, everyone. So, if you do want to support everyone, Venmo, Cash App is in the bio. By the way, everyone, again, we're engaging in CoinCot. That's why you can't gift anyone. We're boycotting TikTok gifts, everyone. If you want to look up the reasons why, you can look up the videos. There's plenty of reasons, or plenty of videos on TikTok that explain why. But yeah, I'll let them continue.
Yep, Jay, you basically said that the test was looking for ether.
Josh, you're back.
Yeah. I had a battery notification. Yeah,
you said that the test was looking for ether. Yeah. That's incorrect, though, right? So the name of the test is the relative motion of the Earth and the luminiferous ether. And Edward Morley writes in a letter detailing what they were trying to do, which is determine if the velocity of light was variant in relation to the motion of the Earth.
Yeah, the velocity of light was variant through what? The ether? Because they all thought the light required a medium to travel through, correct?
They assumed the ether and the motion of the Earth, but you claim that the test was just about trying to find the ether. That's not what the test was. So it was about determining the velocity of light in relation to the motion of the Earth, and then it was predicted that we should have a fringe shift, right, if the Earth is orbiting around the sun, and we didn't see that. So do you know what the Sagnac effect is?
Yeah, sure. The point is with all of this, I know this is like your favorite topic. You have talked to MC Toon, I believe you even talked to Craig and many other people. It's your favorite topic. We literally have videos of all of this stuff.
Oh, you're
whatever you're. No, I'm not obfuscating. First of all, I'm not a physicist. Second of all, I don't deal with relativity all that much. I don't deal.
You switched to a different mic, Josh.
Yeah, my.
Oh, give it a second, everyone. Do tap the screen, everyone. I don't know what's going on. I think he probably just got like a thing related to his power.
No, yeah, my headphone died. I'm here. I'm just trying to switch to my phone mic.
You're fine. Don't worry. Give it a second, everyone.
Thanks for bringing me on, brother.
Of course, man. Of course.
Yeah. So, I am not a relativity expert. I am not a physics expert. I don't delve into everything Einstein. I don't delve into everything Michelson, Morley, Gale, all of that stuff. My claim is we can do simple things to prove everything that we're talking about, and we don't need to get into the deepness of relativity and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I heard you say that claim, right? You said, let's keep it simple, let's just stick with Newtonian mechanics, but your claim is patently incorrect. Newtonian mechanics cannot be true if the Earth is orbiting around the sun. That was disproven in 1887. You're like over a century behind. So when you say that you can prove it, I'm showing that actually the opposite has happened. The most precise form of measurement known to man has proven the Earth is not orbiting the sun.
How has Newtonian mechanics been disproven?
Yeah, I'll help you out. And I just hope you keep the same energy. So I was asking you if you know what the Sagnac effect is, right? Because the Sagnac effect is the deviation or fringe shift of interferometry whenever there is something moving in a circular path. So Newtonian mechanics, as applied to the orbit of the Earth, that's the context, right? Newton says that an object will continue in a straight path unless an outside force acts upon it. And it says that gravity is a force that is inherent in mass and that it is instantaneous. That's why everyone thought there was an ether, because they believed in Newton. And in order to have it be instantaneous, there had to be a medium touching both of the masses, right? Like you can't have it be instant unless there's mutual contact. So they believe the Earth orbits around the sun in a circular path because the gravity force acted on it, right? Well, in Michelson-Morley, if that's true, we would have measured it just like we do the Sagnac effect, because the interferometry would have shown that the Earth was curving and moving, but we didn't measure it. So they had to throw Newtonian mechanics out, and that's when Einstein came in, and they replaced it with Einsteinian mechanics to explain the Michelson-Morley result. So it wasn't just about ether. You can't just throw the ether out. Yeah.
So does science progress at all?
Yes, but you just insinuated that Newtonian mechanics had not been debunked and even were arrogantly laughing about it. And now you're...
So can you derive Newtonian gravity from within relativity? Are those formulas within relativity?
You can get... Yes, you can derive similar equations on smaller scales that are not close to relativistic speeds or in the presence of bigger gravitational fields, but that's called a non sequitur. You know what a non sequitur is?
So, yes, Witsit, I know what a non sequitur is.
Then why are you using one?
Yeah. So when I was talking about Newtonian mechanics, was I talking about the orbit around the sun, or was I talking about things like gravitational gradient navigation or things on Earth, like small scale versus large scale?
Oh, well, see, I don't know if you know, but there's a difference in physics and math, right? Like we do use math in physics to describe things, but physics explains the mechanics of how things work, and then we describe it with math. So to say that on small scales we can get the same math with Einstein and Newton is literally a non sequitur, which is why I said that. We're trying to talk about what's happening in reality. Wait, real fast, check this out. You said that you can prove all of these things that you believe in, and I'm starting with the belief that there's a solar system and there's these spherical planets all orbiting the sun, including the Earth, right? You believe that, right?
Literally have video of it, yep.
Well, according to your own model, even if people were going out into space, it wouldn't prove the Earth was orbiting the sun because of the kinematic equivalence of relativity. You wouldn't be able to tell if the Earth was moving around the sun or if the sun was moving around the Earth.
And what would be required
for that? The 6 month. Thank you so much, Chase.
Two observers, right?
No, not two observers. Regardless of 100 million observers, if you were at the sun or at the Earth or whatever, it could go both ways. That's what relativity states. That it's impossible.
So if you have one observer on Earth and another observation from off of Earth, you'd be able to tell which is moving, right?
No, because from the reference frame of each reference. Yeah, from each reference, it would appear that you were stationary. But what I want you to not run away from is that the empirical you said you have videos of the Earth orbiting the sun. That's patently wrong. But what I want you to address...
we do have videos of Earth's rotation. We do have observations of parallax in stars. We do have video of we have satellites that orbit with us, my friend. We have things that go to the sun.
Okay, so we would use Newtonian dynamics in those equations anyways, right? Which account for a real inertial force of the universal angular momentum around the ECEF, which is Earth-centered, Earth-fixed. But you're diverting, and you said there was a video of us going around the sun, which is insane. But can we address the first point, which is that according to Newtonian mechanics, if the Earth is moving around the sun, then when you use interferometry, for those who don't know, it's using light.
And that's why we came up with relativity, right? We figured out that Newtonian mechanics in this case did not explain everything. And then we figured out, hey, maybe this is what's going on.
So
and
it was debunked
relativity
then.
Does a very good job. It's actually one of the best scientific theories there is.
Okay, so you agree that Newtonian mechanics was debunked after you laughed about it?
No, I didn't agree that Newtonian mechanics was debunked.
But it is.
So do we use Newtonian mechanics in like everything that we build?
That's another non sequitur. What we use is weight What we use is weight.
So do other things? Can we just simply use Newtonian's universal law of gravitation when we build things? Is that precise enough for what we build on? Okay, so it wasn't debunked. We still use it.
Okay, that's a non sequitur.
No,
which means it's not. Dude, you know if we were playing pickup basketball, hey, bro.
No, wait. You said it was debunked, but we still use it and it still works. Ergo, not debunked, not a non sequitur.
That's what's up. Let me ask you a question. If we were playing basketball and I crossed you up and then drove the lane and I broke your ankles and then you got up and sprinted and then tackled me right before I dunked the ball, did you beat me in basketball? No. So please allow me to finish speaking like I'm allowing you to. Thank you.
Yeah. No, so
Witsit, can you explain how that like related?
Yeah, because he's interrupting me. So it's like right as I'm going to my conclusion, he's censoring it, like fouling the person in basketball.
That's a tactic you use in every single debate you've been in.
Also to clarify, because I'm trying to keep up with the conversation here, I'm not familiar with the flat Earth conversations as much. How was what he was engaging in a non sequitur?
Yeah, meaning it's not sequential to the point it doesn't follow.
No, I know what a non sequitur is, but I'm asking you, how was his point a non sequitur?
I'm telling you, right? So I was talking about the mechanics, the physical claim and mechanics of Newton being debunked when it comes to the orbital claim, and then he brought up how we can use it mathematically on the small scale in engineering. So we can use it sometimes, and it works for intents and purposes mathematically, which is not sequential to the actual point, which is that the physics and mechanics of Newtonian mechanics has been refuted in his own paradigm. So it's irrelevant.
If we can use the laws, then how is the physics and the mechanics been debunked?
Because we can use many different laws to get the same mathematical equation, right? It doesn't mean that the mechanics is true. So the math works, but the mechanics can't be
What is the math based on?
It's based on the assumption that gravity is inherent to mass and that it's instantaneous.
No. What is the math meant to explain here?
It describes
it's explaining the physics, right?
No.
It's explaining the mechanics. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's my point. The math describes a physics that
so
has
then how
been
is that
disproven.
How is that a non sequitur?
Because the mechanics have been disproven, we just use the math for intents and purposes to get weight. We can use many equations for that. We can use an electrostatic equivalence. We can use electromagnetic nature of gravity equivalence. We can use a kinematic equation. We can use Einsteinian equations. They can't all be true, though, right? All the math works in all of those, but they can't all be physically true because they make opposite claims.
No, I'm not saying that. What they're saying though is that like when he says that like it's not debunked, he's saying that like we use it in the context of the laws.
But
That's what it seems like he's saying.
Yes, but
and what you're doing is you're talking past him because you're assuming that he's saying that like all of these theories that pose contradictory claims are true simultaneously, when he's just saying that it's not debunked within the sense that we still use it within our mathematical formulas.
Which is why it's a non sequitur.
So Witsit, that's not a non sequitur. You're just talking past each other. You're actually engaging in an equivocation fallacy because you're not asking him how he's using the term.
Okay. Equivocation fallacy is false equivalence. That didn't happen.
You're equivocating because you're using your particular reference of the term that he's using rather than asking him what he means by it. So you're equivocating your usage of the term with his usage of the term.
I specifically addressed what he was using it for, which is engineering in the equation for weight.
But you didn't ask him how he was using the term, so you were talking past him. That's all I was telling you that you were doing. So you were misidentifying that he was engaging in a non sequitur because you weren't understanding the terms that he was using in the way that he was using it.
Do you understand that I'm talking about the physics and the mechanics, and then he brought up the math, which means that it's a non sequitur because that's not what
that doesn't seem to be a non sequitur. That means that you guys are just talking past each other.
Okay, sure. Then maybe he'll choose to not talk past the point, which is that the mechanics of Newton have been debunked. He admitted that it has been in the sense of the orbit, which was the context, and then he diverted to talking about where we can use it. But we weren't talking about that. We were talking about the mechanics.
No, that's
working.
what he meant by like debunked, right? That's what he was explaining what he meant by that.
Okay. Do you guys agree that we can't use Newtonian mechanics to explain the Earth orbiting around the sun?
Yes.
Thank you. That was the point. So that means it has been debunked in the context of the belief that the Earth is a sphere that spins around the sun, right? You said that you can verify it and we can just use Newtonian mechanics, and I am clarifying, no, we can't use Newtonian mechanics for the Earth orbiting the sun. That doesn't work anymore. It was disproven in 1887. So yeah, it's simpler and easier to talk about, and we use it for engineering because why wouldn't we? If we use like a one-page equation, it's 7 pages if you go to Einstein, right? So of course we use the simpler equations that work for engineering. Of course we do, right? But that doesn't prove the mechanics is true, and actually we've disproven the mechanics in sense of the orbit. That's the only point being made here. And the reason it's important is because that's when Einstein came in and said,
do the mechanics still work on Earth?
Except for the quantum scale.
Yeah. So if the mechanics still work on Earth, they haven't been debunked. That's the entire point.
Go ahead.
We use them on Earth. They work on Earth. We put lives on the line using them on Earth. It works.
Okay, are you familiar with the law of non-contradiction?
No.
Okay, well, the first 3 principles of logic is the law of non-contradiction, the law of identity, and the law of the excluded middle. Of course, the law of non-contradiction just means that 2 contradictory things cannot be simultaneously true. Einstein claims that gravity is not a force. Newton says gravity is a force. Einstein said that an object can deviate from a straight path without a force. Newton says it can only move from a straight path with a force. So they're opposite claims. They can't both be true.
Does relativity create a force?
Relativity as a theory doesn't create anything, and in relativity, gravity is not a force.
If gravity is what Einstein says, do masses move because of it?
Yes. Yeah, the bending and warping of space-time supposedly causes gravity.
What's required for a mass to move?
According to Einstein, it is the displacement of mass within the fabric of space-time, which causes the bending and warping.
For any mass to move, what eventually happens? There's a force applied to that mass when it moves, right?
Not according to relativity. That is Newtonian mechanics, which is F equals ma.
The bending and warping of space-time is not a force in and of itself. But the gravity, the objects moving closer together due to their mass. So Newton and Einstein definitely agree that gravity is caused by mass. They just disagree on, and not even disagree. Einstein just went on to further explain what Newton discovered. But in order for those masses to move, a force is involved. Relativity creates a force. Masses do not move without a force being applied to them.
This is patently incorrect because Einstein said that gravity is not a force. It's a pseudo force, meaning that it can be perceived of as if it is a force, but we don't know what the source is, and that the cause of gravity is the bending and warping of space-time. Newton said that gravity is an inherent property of mass, and it is a force. So they are different claims, fundamentally. We teach people Newton mechanics because it's simpler to say mass attracting mass to convey the concept to people. We use the simpler equations. That's cool. That's great. I'm trying to say, like, is it actually physically possible that the Earth is orbiting around the sun? That's what we're trying to figure out. And the facts of the matter are is it is not. It has been disproven with interferometry.
Sure. What about all the other observations that show that it is? Why do we only see equatorial constellations 6 months out of the year? Is this the azimuthal grid of vision that you like to use?
No, the sky moves as opposed to the Earth. So
okay, so why do we only see them 6 months out of the year, and why did they change?
Because they process through the sky. So if you understood your model, you would know there's a kinematic equivalence. So if the Earth is stationary and everything's moving around it, you would have the exact same observations as if the Earth was moving.
Where do they go for 6 months?
They precess where we can no longer see them in the sky.
To where?
Just where we can't see them.
Okay. Why can we see stars that are further away?
Well, you can claim distances, and that's cool, but that's not reality. Your distance claims aren't reality. But wait, just answer this question point blank. Do you agree there's a kinematic equivalence of a stationary geocentric Earth and then an Earth orbiting the sun?
Explain what you mean by kinematic equivalence.
So kinematics are how bodies move in relation to each other. So like the Earth moves around the sun or the sun moves around the Earth. Those are kinematics. And then dynamics is the cause of the movement.
You're just using big words to say from our point of view, it would look similar whether the Earth is round and rotating or the Earth is flat and stationary and the sun moves over us. Yes, but can we test that to see if that's true or not?
Yes, we can. We can use interferometry, which is the most sensitive form of measurement known to man to measure motion. And we can see, do we actually measure the Earth moving? What we see is that we do not. Okay, do you know what happened? Einstein said the reason you can't detect the Earth's motion is because we thought it was curving around the sun, but it's actually going in a linear path. It's going straight, and it's free falling through the curvature of space-time. So while you're on the Earth, you won't be able to measure it because it's not curving. Newton was wrong and thought it was curving.
Can't really measure gravitational freefall.
Okay, well, it's because it's a linear path specifically. But now the problem is we do get a fringe shift. Now that claim would require that we don't get any interference pattern, but we do.
Can we just start at the basics and prove that the Earth is a globe and rotating?
If you want to try to prove that it's rotating, that's cool. But are you basically conceding that you are just maybe not read up on it?
No, I'm saying start at the basics, because you're saying, is there a kinematic relationship between a flat stationary Earth and sun that is going above us and it's moving versus what we're told? So
no, we're not even talking about flat yet, bro. We're talking about movement.
Yeah. So can we prove that the Earth is rotating?
Okay, so you just to clarify, you can't verify that the Earth is orbiting the sun, and you don't know about the interferometry measurements that debunked it. You'll have to read up on it, right?
Sure. Can we prove the Earth is rotating? Can we prove that there is movement to the Earth?
Well, if the Earth is rotating, it also has to be orbiting, and that's been disproven.
My point exactly. So can we prove that the Earth is rotating?
No, because if the Earth is rotating, it would also have to be orbiting. But we've disproven the claim. We've disproven the claim that it's orbiting with interferometry. But go ahead and say.
We can't provide evidence that the Earth is rotating at all. We
you
can't prove that at all.
You can try to. Go ahead. I know what you're going to say, obviously, but you're diverting away from the fact that you can't address the interferometry measurements refuting the orbit, obviously. But if you want to change the subject, that's fine.
It seems like he's lagging again. He's on one bar. Hello? Hey there, man. He's paused out. Maybe he got the second power thing. You there, Josh? He could have got a second. His phone might have died. Oh, he's still there.
We can't
hear you right now. Yeah, you can drop it and come back. Yeah, TikTok is glitching. Give it a second, everyone. Do tap that screen. Let's try to get to 500,000 likes. Depending on how long this goes, I'll see whether or not I do another topic today. I think I'll be on until like 7 something. So we got another like 2.5 hours maybe or so fully on the live. So we'll see. We'll see if we end up doing another topic.
You said you're boycotting TikTok, or they've been tripping or something?
No, it's not just me. It's a bunch of other people.
Word.
TikTok sucks.
Yeah, they take a bunch on gifts and stuff. So other people were like boycotting, and then.
Oh, that's cool. To push back on the percentage they take.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know how effective it's gonna be, but we'll see.
Well, maybe, man. That's how it works, right? You might, if everyone goes together.
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
Are you able to? So what was I going to say about proving the rotation of the Earth? Because this is exactly why I went. If we're rotating, it also means we have to be orbiting. So can we prove the rotation of the Earth?
Well, real fast, can I ask you a question? So if that's true, if the Earth is rotating, it has to be orbiting, or vice versa. If you were to definitively refute the claim that it's orbiting, wouldn't that by proxy refute the claim it's rotating?
You can refute whatever you want. I'm asking, is it possible for us to prove it?
You notice how you just didn't answer my question, right? Like you're ducking the question.
Yeah, so anyone can refute anything they want. My assertion is that we can prove that the Earth is rotating, and ergo, I don't know why you say same. All we have to do is prove that the Earth is rotating, man.
Oh, it's simple. Because if the Earth is rotating, then in order to explain like the precession of the sun and the periodicity of the sun and the moon and the precession of the equinoxes, you're going to have to actually be moving through space as well, right?
Sure. I agree with that. So can we prove that the Earth is rotating?
No, I'm going to just listen out of good faith. I'm going to like just allow you to change the subject and go to the rotation.
I'm not changing the subject.
I'm just making it a point that you clearly are. You're trying to say, oh, we're going to prove the orbit indirectly by proving the rotation, but we just refuted the orbit and you're ducking it. But it's whatever. Trust me, I'm not scared of your rotation.
To be clear, did you not just say if the Earth is rotating, then to explain everything that we see in the sky, the Earth has to be orbiting the sun? So ergo, all I need to do is show that we can prove rotation, right?
Well, that's when I then asked you a question you ducked 3 times, which is, do you agree if that's true? And we refuted or disproved the claim the Earth is orbiting. That means that automatically it can't be rotating. And you started saying anyone can refute anything that they want.
Haven't disproved it.
But you couldn't address the evidence.
Yeah. So I am addressing the evidence by saying the Earth is rotating, and you agree if the Earth is rotating, we also have to be orbiting, right?
That's not addressing the evidence if you divert away. Dude, you're diverting from the fact that interferometry measurement refuted the claim that the Earth is orbiting around the sun.
Rotation?
It's not that first of all, bro, it's not that I don't want to, because I'm about to also destroy that argument. It's the fact that you're diverting away. Okay, then just vocalize that.
I am Witsit. I am 100% running from your claim. Disprove Earth's rotation, please.
You're the one claiming it's rotating. How about you prove it? You don't disprove.
No, you said you were going to destroy it. Go ahead and destroy it. But you also said you knew what I was going to say.
Yes.
Please go.
Okay. You're going to invoke the ring laser gyro and Foucault pendulum. Oh, yeah, I do know what you're going to say. Huh?
I'm waiting for you to destroy what you thought I was going to say.
Well, would you like to confirm for the audience that is what you were going to say?
Actually, it wasn't exactly what I was going to say. So go ahead.
Okay, then go ahead. You were making a positive claim.
Go ahead and destroy them.
No. You're making a positive claim. You see how you're being bad faith right now?
No, you claimed I know exactly what you're going to say, and I'm going to destroy it. So please go.
Actually, I said I am going to destroy your rotation claim as well, but you're diverting away from the orbit.
So go ahead. You said you knew what my claim was.
Well, hey man, can we walk it back, or can we calm down? Like, in order to have a good faith conversation, we wouldn't be using all these tactics. Like, do you realize that I don't have the burden of proof to prove a negative claim, right? Like, if you're claiming the Earth is rotating, then just
we literally have videos of it.
Okay, so you're appealing to the videos of like what the ISS or the Himalaya?
Nope. Those are 2.
Okay.
There's 4 more I can think of.
Yeah, but according to, you said no, but you meant yes. But according to your model,
that's not what I meant.
According to your model, if we sent a satellite out in space and we saw it look like the Earth was spinning, we would see the same thing if the Earth was stationary and the universe, we were spinning with space around it, right?
What happens if that satellite is stationary?
What do you mean? What happens?
What happens if the satellite is stationary?
Every time we get to a direct refutation of your point, you just change the point to something else.
No, I'm not changing the point. I said here's all I said so far. We have video of it rotating. You waffled on with several different supposed claims that you thought I was going to make. And then you said, we can't tell because if that was true, we wouldn't be able to tell if it was the universe or Earth. And I simply said, what happens if the satellite is stationary? I'm not changing
it's the same.
Subject. You're just using the tactics you always use.
No, you just wouldn't address the point that
I am addressing the point. What happens if the satellite is stationary?
Okay, so even if it's geostationary, they actually use the physics and equations of real inertial forces. So a net radially inward accelerative centripetal force. So if they treat the satellites as if they were going into a universe spinning against it, keeping it in place. That's the actual equations for satellites. Have you ever looked at them?
I don't care about the equations. I'm talking about the video.
Okay, now I was pointing out again, I don't actually have to believe your appeal to the authority of NASA, say they put satellites in space.
I'm not appealing to authority. I'm appealing to the fact that we have video that we can analyze.
Yes, and I already pointed out that even if I were to grant those videos were real, which I obviously don't believe they're real, you have
are there people in the world that can prove whether or not a video was faked or real?
Yeah, I was like, what makes you believe that it's fake? Because that's like a positive assertion, right?
No, shifting the burden of proof would be like the person denying or challenging the positive assertion being made. You trying to put the
no. You might say that I just don't necessarily believe this to be the case, but you're saying that it's false. Okay.
Well, actually,
those are two different assertions.
What I said was, if I granted to you that they were real, even though I don't believe them, right? So he's claiming that someone sent a satellite.
Oh, that's different than what you said, right? Because not believing it is different from saying that it's false.
I word for word said that I didn't believe it, but if
didn't you say that it was false?
No. That's
what I remember.
I said I could, even if I grant you this.
You believe that it was fake, right? You said that it was fake. That is the thing that it's false, okay? Saying that it's false is different than saying that you do not believe it. So are you changing what you were saying?
Well, I did imply it was fake by saying, even if I were to grant to you that they were real.
No, you said fake specifically.
No, I said even if I were to.
No, you said you said fake specifically. Don't gaslight me. Okay. I know what you said.
Whatever, but both of you guys have to interrupt me. It's funny, but
I haven't talked this entire time. I caught you in a lie, and now you're trying to get out of it.
No, you just made the claim. I made a positive claim. I knew they were fake.
Yeah, you said fake. You said fake. That's exactly what you said.
Okay, so then I may have said, even if I were to grant you that they weren't fake, which I don't believe, okay, that's word for word what I said. So
No, it's not. I have this recorded, my guy.
Good.
Would you like me to post it?
Yeah, sure, and we can place a wager on it.
Okay, you want to?
Sure.
All right, $25. You down?
Bet. Yes, bet. That I said although I don't believe that or something that.
No. In terms of I said that you said it was fake.
I'm saying I may have said the word fake, but it doesn't matter. I said I don't believe it. Now,
okay, so now he's not going to accept it.
I already accepted the bet. You changed it. Dude, this is
I said, no, that's what I said. Come on, you know that's what I said.
All I'm saying, bro, is I said, even if I were to grant to you that the satellites were real, even though I obviously don't believe that, that's what I said, man. Okay? But it doesn't matter. Like, I'm trying to be good.
Don't believing it is fine. Well, I would just ask you, like why you hold that position.
Sure, I'm gonna.
Why you're skeptical of these particular claims. That's what I would ask.
Sure, because I've seen what I believe to be fakery in other situations of footage from NASA. So for me, if a source has been shown to be fraudulent, right, then I just don't trust anything else that.
What fakery specifically?
All kinds of issues on the ISS where the person fades out of the screen before he turns the corner, where people's hands go through objects, where their shirts get pulled.
Does that mean that this is specifically fake?
No, not necessarily. But
because those things, there could be green screen videos that they make, right, from NASA, right? Yeah. That doesn't mean that all videos are green screen.
No, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is if there's a test that can't be independently verified, we just have to trust them, right? Like, to be fair, we have to trust them. We can't go out there and do it. Video? We can analyze it, but obviously
I mean literally forensically analyze it and prove that it is either fake or real. Do those people exist?
Yes, there are forensic analysis. Yes, but of course. Yeah, but that doesn't. You can't prove for certain that a video isn't fake. I'll give you. No, you can't. No, you can't. Because I'll give you an example.
For a living, Witsit?
Not particularly concerned with
why
that.
Do you think?
Actually,
why do you think my last name is Hasselblad?
Couldn't I couldn't pretend to think that was relevant or care.
Use on the moon?
Okay, that's what's up. So you have an emotional bias towards
it. No, I don't have an emotional bias. I'm literally a professional photographer. It's what I've done.
That's what's up, my brother. That's what's up.
Wait. Also, I was like, aren't you assuming that like the imaging that they've had, right, was like beyond, or the technology they had was like beyond the capacities at the time? Like, say for the context of like the videos, right? We don't currently have, right, video imaging that would be able to, right, create these types of things, right, at the times in which we were able to see these videos. Like, I don't understand why you would assume that we'd have greater levels of technology than we currently have. That seems to be like another assumption that you're embedding in your hypothesis.
No, I kind of see what you're saying, that like back in the Apollo mission things that they didn't have the technology to fake it. I get that, but people overlook different ways that you can fake it. For example, there's actual video of NASA creating like a real life model, like a physical model that's of the moon. And they brought in an artist that very precisely mapped out the exact surface of the moon with all the texture differential. And then they had a little track that went around it. So imagine if you put a camera on the track and taped that. Imagine if you took someone to the desert, right, and you just took a small little section of a video. I don't say that the videos are fake, right? They have like actual, you can get the raw film and you can see that someone took a picture, right? Sure. But like you can set up a scenario where you take a raw picture, but it's actually still fakery, right? Like it doesn't, I'm not.
Why isn't there any perspective shift if they were using miniatures?
Well, we've actually caught some problems with the perspective.
And also, would there be like issue with lighting?
Well, some argue that there is issue with the shadows and the lighting, but not necessarily. I mean, if you had years to work on this,
knows what they're talking about.
Well, we have a video where they're on a buggy going towards the mountains that are in the like barely away from the buggy, and the mountains don't change size at all, which would obviously imply that it is a background. But
yeah, so for instance, the video of the Apollo 11 ascent module said to be coming off the moon and docking with the command module shot by Michael Collins. It's shot from the entirety of the thing where it's so small in frame, it actually has to be pointed out to you. Once it's pointed out to you, you can't miss it. Films it all the way up. Why isn't there a perspective shift there?
Okay, I don't know exactly which one you're talking about. I have to look at it, my dude. But let's just clarify. Are you claiming that it is impossible for any of that footage or current footage? Okay, so that's a cool claim that you've made. But obviously, I'm just going to disagree with you because they've already shown us that they had actual physical models, that they brought an artist in to match the moon so perfectly. He was taking out a really fine paintbrush to make it. Why would they need to do that? Why would they need to make a moon model so precise for training that they matched
in the photos that they did?
Yes.
Yeah. Does NASA model things out so they can figure things out on Earth as well? Like, do they have replicas or actual like Mars rovers at JPL? Do they have everything that goes into space on Earth? So if something goes wrong, they know, hey, they have a flag and a flagpole. Can we use that to fix this problem?
That wouldn't apply at all to the aesthetics of the painting of a moon model. You could, that's insane. So you see how far off we've gotten from the, you see how far off you guys want to talk about stuff like, I know video, but you made many claims and you don't want to stand behind them. You said that we can prove the Earth is rotating by videoing it. Yep. I then pointed out to you that even according to your own model, if I granted you that the satellites were really out there, that wouldn't prove it, because there's a kinematic equivalence according to relativity, which means that if the Earth was spinning or the satellite was spinning around it, that it would be equivalent the way that you see it. Just like the analogy that Einstein used was if a buggy's going down the road, there's no way to know that if the buggy's moving or if you're moving, and it just makes the buggy look like it's moving.
So if something is rotating in front of a camera, are we able to record it?
Yes.
Okay.
That isn't relevant. Are you denying the relativistic kinematic equivalence?
No, I'm saying we can simply put a camera in space and record what's in front of it.
Yes, but what you record, if you were to see a globe spinning, it wouldn't prove the globe is spinning anyway. But now, obviously, this is the thing. I don't believe in the videos. I've caught them faking stuff, bro. Okay?
You haven't caught them faking stuff. Did you? So what happens? So what happens if you take a 360 camera, put it anywhere, and only show half of that 360 video? What's going to happen if you're not actually?
Why are we making little random quizzes about cameras instead of you proving the Earth is rotating?
Because your first thing was people going through walls and fading out. What happens if you have a 360 camera?
It wasn't a 360 camera.
What's that?
It wasn't a 360 camera.
And how do you know this?
Because you can tell by the distortion of the video lens.
Except there are ones that people bring up all the time. Look, this guy is fading into the wall, which is what you said, which is a 360 camera.
That was not a 360 camera where the guy Look, here's the deal, man. Here's the deal. You can disagree with me. Fair enough. Agree, disagree. I'm saying I've seen enough glitches. I've seen enough glitches on the ISS.
I'm very much not agreeing to disagree. You're just flat wrong. There's a difference.
That's what's up, bro. I mean, you can say that, but anyone that actually goes and does the research, and I encourage everyone in the audience to do that, go watch all the videos of NASA where all of a sudden their shirts get pulled out at sharp angles when they're supposedly in 0G, and they get caught up on wires, and they just glitch out, and their hand goes through the microphone. You can probably come up with some apologist excuse for all of it, but I'm telling you that's obviously what we would see if they were faking it, right?
Yeah. How long have you been dealing with photography and video and
genetic fallacy?
No, not a genetic fallacy at all. 25 years of experience versus
appeal to authority.
Not appeal to authority.
Wait, if they were faking it, I have a question. Why would they let it be seen that it's fake?
Good question. Maybe they didn't realize that the glitch was there. Some of the times they're live broadcasts. Sometimes they do live broadcasts, right?
So wouldn't they just do fake live broadcasts? Because like the notion of a live broadcast, you don't have to like do it on the spot. On YouTube, you can quite literally just preview it.
Well, that would require whoever it is that's interviewing them to also be in on it, right? Because they're going to randomly ask them.
Well, you already assume that, right? Because of all these scenarios.
No, absolutely not. Like the news.
You're assuming that all these people who are a part of this are all a part of this idea. Like they're all faking it.
No,
you're assuming that every single one of them is faking it, but the interviewer. Are you serious?
Okay, first of all, not every single one of them. Just a few people would have to fake.
No, you're assuming that all of them are. Just What are you talking about?
That's a straw man. That's like people saying that you have to believe 400,000 people were in on the live for the moon landing. Like, absolutely not.
If they all were engaging with it, yeah, absolutely. If they have knowledge about it.
Sure, whoever's actually directly engaging. But what I'm saying is if someone's at the news...
And then there has to be someone directing it. You're assuming that there's some mind directing this. Like there's some small group indicating this to happen.
There would be a few people faking it, yes. But if a newscaster... If a news anchor was just going to call into the ISS and ask questions, it would be smarter not to have them in on it, right? Because you're going to just say, look, we're about to call the ISS. And you would really be live broadcasting it. They're like, hey, can you do a flip? And then they can do a flip. It makes it look much more
Couldn't it just like why wouldn't they just pay them off, right? They literally control everything. Under your view, they control everything. It's a risk to leave it up to a live broadcast, isn't it?
Yes, it is, but it's much more.
That's why your argument there isn't convincing, because it's a risk either way. It would have made most sense for them just to pay off that person and put another person a part of the whole scheme.
Are you saying that if
more than let me please finish? It takes more than a few people to do this. You're saying it takes international collaboration of particular secret groups of people that are controlling everything. That's what you're talking about, because you're talking about all of NASA is on this side, all physicists, people, all of them have been indoctrinated by this particular group of people. So there's international collaboration amongst people, secret groups of people that control everything, that are disseminating information through physicists, through other types of scientific professionals, right? And they're stopping their ability from being able to critique any of this. So it's extremely extensive, but it's so extensive that it doesn't apply here.
Yeah.
It's so extensive, but doesn't apply here.
Yes, that's correct. Your argument is basically like if they took a risk here, then they would have taken risks everywhere. No, the reason that they're willing to take the risk for the live broadcast is because they can weigh the pros and cons and be like, well, this is going to make it look way more authentic, right? And so we can pull it off. We've trained enough, and they thought they could, and a couple of times they slipped up. A couple of times they make it look pretty good. But my point is, if the news anchor doesn't know, just ask a question. It can make it look real. It's very simple, and you don't need tons of people to be in on it. It's small, controlled groups of people. Like the director of the Apollo mission said that the control room would never know the difference between the real thing and simulation because the simulation was so real. That's a direct quote from the Apollo director. Dude.
No, but that just creates more risk, though, right? The one you're talking about, doing through live stream rather than just paying them off. Because if they already have so many people that they're able to keep the secret, right? Why wouldn't they just be able to add another one who's a news reporter, right? That's just so ridiculous for you to assume that that would be a greater risk than this, even though they already do this. Under your view, they already did this with plenty of people internationally.
Major difference.
So that would be significantly lower in risk comparative to the idea of leaving it up to an actual live stream.
The major difference, right? Like if you work for the government, you have to sign NDAs or you can actually be charged with treason, right? Like my dad still can't tell me certain things that happened in the military. He can't tell his own son, right? Like that's not the same as some random news anchor. These people aren't just paid off. They're literally sworn under oath.
Wouldn't they be? Wouldn't you assume that there would be people, if there's a secret government controlling everything, in order for them to be able to control, they have to be able to control the spread of information. So individuals in which would be in the media would be controlled in terms of that spread of information, right? But I also think that your view would not only assume that, but it would assume people like me are also controlled, right? Because they wouldn't allow for the dissemination of information to occur such at a rapid pace on the internet. They wouldn't have given us access to the internet, social media devices to be able to interact with each other and engage in conversations like this. None of this makes any sense under a model where there's a small group of people controlling absolutely everything to make sure that we think that we're insignificant.
Okay, it's wild to think that there's not powerful groups of people controlling things, but if that's what you want to believe, you can. So I don't.
Yeah, I like how that's not what I said, right? There are powerful groups of people controlling things, but the particular claim that you're making, there's a small group of people controlling absolutely everything as like some sort of Illuminati figure, is fundamentally different than saying there are some rich people in our society that will influence the government to get what they want because they can lobby things using private lobbying. This is actual public information that we can use to justify that level of corruption, whereas under your view, you're just assuming things because it's a conspiracy.
No, you can prove that there are powerful families that have been in control for a long time. It's provable. And you can just look at the major fronts that they use to control things.
Okay, then give me the proof right now. That's a talking point.
No, you have BlackRock. Look who owns BlackRock.
What is BlackRock? Tell me what BlackRock is.
A company that owns an immense amount of things. It's a front company for people like the Rockefellers.
No. Tell me what their business model is. Tell me right now.
They do all kinds of different investments.
Yeah, they're investing from. They invest on behalf of people that give them money, right, to invest for them, right? That's how they work. So obviously they're diversified across the entire American economy. That's how any investing firm works.
Okay, that wasn't some type of rebuttal to me. So like I said,
that was a rebuttal. You're making it seem like they're conspiracy controlling everything. No, they just have diversified assets because they're a fucking investing firm. They're trying to maximize profits, and the way that you can maximize profits is by diversifying amongst the American economy.
Okay.
What are you talking about, bro?
Almost every president's been related all the way back to the king. That's a fact, right?
Can you give me any evidence of that? That's just a claim.
Have you ever researched that?
Give me evidence of that. I'm not asking for. Have you researched that?
What am I supposed to?
Give me an actual evidence of that.
Yeah, you want me to send you a link? How can I send you a link?
No, tell me the title of it right now.
I would have to look it up, bro. Like you think it's
you
like
don't have it right now.
Okay, but it's a fact, dude.
It's a fact, but you don't have access to it. Trust me, bro. That's what it is.
No, I'm saying
you just made it trust me, bro.
Dude, so you are just wrong.
You're saying like when you say related, right? Are you saying related in the way that me and you are related, or are you saying related in the context in which they are quite literally within the same familial chain, right? Within the context of a few families.
Yes, they track back to the king. There's only a couple exceptions. I mean, this even made mainstream news.
Wait, what king? Because we all track back to the king.
It even made mainstream news.
Wait, Witsit. We all track back to particular kings, okay? So you have to give me something that is specifically relating to individual families. Because you say they're just related. Well, me and you are related. That's a nonsensical point then.
Make sure we get away from proving the earth is rotating to talk about how you don't know that presidents are
now you're pivoting. I'm particularly questioning this. You were having a conversation with him about that.
Phone.
I'm questioning you on this, and now you're pivoting from that.
No.
Because you don't have evidence.
No. I don't have all the details of the king's name memorized. It doesn't mean it's not true.
No, I'm asking you about the relation, right? How specific is the relation? Is the relation close, or is the relation just like me and you being related? I appreciate the $5 on Cash App. Thank you so much.
I believe it's closer than just all people. I mean, dude, take it or leave it. You can look it up. I'm not to pretend that somehow
it's closer. So you don't even know. You don't even know the contents of what you're referencing. That was a talking point, Witsit.
Dude,
you know that was a talking point.
Imagine being this. You think that you just refuted me by Austin doesn't remember all
you
the
made a talking point. Yes.
Dude,
I showed how you don't even have any reason to believe what you believe. You just believe it based on talking points. Yes, I just showed that. Yeah. It was
a bullshit
conspiracy claim.
Seconds.
Like it seems like, wait, hold on. It was a bullshit conspiracy.
You just got debunked. This is going to be funny. So it takes 3 seconds. The ancestral background of presidents of the United States has been relatively consistent throughout American history, with the exception of Martin Van Buren and perhaps Dwight D. Eisenhower. Every president.
When they say ancestral background, what are they talking about?
Every president has ancestors from the British Isles, which in turn makes any of them distantly related to one another.
Wait, so they're all British? Wow, you just said people are British. Oh my God, that's not the same familial chain, my guy. That's people are British, dude. What are you talking about? Most presidents are British. Most people in the U.S. have some type of British ancestry. Witsit, what the fuck are you talking about?
Dude, it's like, if you want to deny that the presidents have distant relations,
respond to what I just said.
I'm trying to. Like, I'm telling you that a lot of the presidents are related to the king. They track back through the same ancestry. And it doesn't even matter if they don't.
Wow, they're related. They're British. Oh, my God.
Dude, you diverted by saying, I have to believe the Illuminati's real.
Most people I mean, you know, a lot of people around the world have British ancestors because of colonialism. Or what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, colonialism is a huge part of around the world, especially in the United States. Of course, there's going to have some British ancestry. That is a fucking ridiculous claim for you to make, that there's some sort of like close family structure and this relates back to the Illuminati, when all you're relating to is the fact that they're just like British, bro.
You keep saying Illuminati to strawman me, but what's super funny here is
Cyber, I appreciate the $10 on Venmo. Thank you so much.
NewYorkDailyNews.com. 7th grader says bloodlines of 42 of 43 U.S. presidents link back to King John of England. So let me guess, everyone.
Yes, most of us link back to King John.
Really? How many?
Okay, as it relates to this particularly, if you have British ancestry,
how many?
You can link back. I don't know the percentage off the top of my head.
I gotcha. You don't know.
Ancestry.
Oh, you don't know the exact number. I gotcha.
I'm not referencing a particular source right now. I'm just saying that if you have British ancestry, you're going to link back to those particular times.
But how many in the United States track back to the King of England?
You want me to pull it up? It's going to be most people who are British in America, which most people in America, right, are still considerably white, which would be of European descent. Many of those would be Western European, which would include British and lots of other types of Western European places.
I have nothing to do with Britain. I have nothing to do with Britain.
You understand that would just be true based upon like the particular demographics of our country that we already know.
Okay.
But I can pull it up.
Okay, it's all good, man. You can look it up, but 42 of the 43 presidents link back to King John of England. It doesn't really matter. There are powerful groups of people that run things. We agree. You're using the word.
Wait, who is it?
King John of England. So you just look up all presidents are related, and it literally pops right up mainstream news articles. Some 7th grader showed it in her thing, and it went viral. It doesn't even matter, bro. Like, we agree that there are people that use their money to control the government. There are powerful groups of people, blah, blah, blah. That's cool. But we're talking about what we were talking about, which is that not everyone.
This guy's from 1215. Yeah. So, as it relates to that, it's going to be people but basically everyone that would link back from England.
Okay, man. The point was that I said that all the presidents are related and go back to the king, and that was just a fact. Like, if your new argument is a bunch of people do.
That's not a claim about, dude. If most of the people in the U.S. that would be applicable to, well, wouldn't we likely see that?
Well, dude, I asked you, what's the percentage? You keep saying most and stuff. That's not true. There's not 95% of people don't track back. It's nothing like that. But it doesn't matter.
I'm not saying 95%. Well, if you were to refer to Europeans in the United States.
Okay, but do you agree, dude, that the main premise is that there are powerful groups of people that obviously are not the majority by any stretch, and they have lots of power and influence, and they also can control and guide the government?
I have a physician on Quora that says some geneticists estimate the most common ancestor for all of humanity goes back to around 300 BC, right? It's going to relate to John. Right. There's also another one that relates to John. John had 5 legitimate children, 12 acknowledged illegitimate children, and possibly others. He had a bit of a reputation. If you were to take those 17 children plus 900 years, you would have multiple generations of descendants. You can find John an awful lot of people.
Okay.
So it's hard to estimate specifically the percentage of the population that this would be applicable to, but it is going to be to most people because of how long it's been. If you were to estimate that mathematically.
Okay, dude, everyone can just go research it themselves, right?
Chaos, thank you for the $25 on Venmo. Thank you so much. Can we get a W? Chaos in the comment section. And Devin, thank you so much for the $4.20. Thank you so much. Sorry, what's that, Richard? I apologize.
No, it's all good, but like it was just a side point I made anyway, right? And it's just something that I saw a few years ago that 42 of the 43 presidents all track back to the King of England, whatever, some 12-year-old did it and everyone freaked out like, oh my gosh. It's pretty crazy. So take it or leave it. I understand.
Jason, I appreciate the $5 to cash up. Thank you, Jason.
You're making a decent point, sure, that like a lot of us are going to track back to the place that we came from, of course, right? That's cool. I think that it's a little bit different than that, right? But I haven't researched in a long time. Like I track back to Germany, for example. Like not everybody goes to Britain, specifically the King of England, right? And so and then if you extend the distances out really well, I will say the best way to have discussion is figure out how close they are, right? And I don't know the answer. I don't know how close they are related. So whatever. It's just a point that's interesting. Obviously, it's not like 95% of the population tracks back to the King John of England, right? It's nothing like that. So, but anyway, there are powerful groups of people. But my point is, you guys seem to think that we believe that millions and millions of people are in on this lie. What is that?
British Empire, bro.
Sure.
British Empire. There was literally across the entire globe, right? So I don't understand how you would just not acknowledge that's going to be a huge percentage of people. When literally the British Empire was the biggest empire like in history.
I literally
Devin, I appreciate the $6.66. Thank you so much on Venmo.
I literally acknowledged it, bro. I literally said, yeah, that's a decent point that a lot of us are going to be somewhat related to it. So,
but you were then trying to dismiss it right after that. Okay, but if you accept it, that's fine. That's just miscommunication on my behalf.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is
this is a fundamental tenet to your point, though, right?
No,
there's this type of deception. Well, it is. If you want to grant like the CGI claims and all that type of stuff, there's a fundamental tenet of deception that would relate to like secret governments controlling everything. Your hypothesis is extremely riddled with
it doesn't even require that, Parker. It doesn't require that. Have you ever heard of the Manhattan Project?
Yeah.
Okay. Does the Manhattan Project require an evil Illuminati behind the scenes?
Well, it actually, the information gets released.
Okay, but yeah, eventually some of the information gets released 50 to 60 years later, right?
And there's constantly whistleblowers with the United States government. What are you talking about?
There's not constantly. There are some.
Yeah, there is.
Dude, what is your point? How is that somehow a rebuttal to the fact that there were that many people in the Manhattan Project and none of them knew what they were actually working on? So it would be like you guys saying, oh, everyone in the Manhattan Project knew and lied that they were working on nuclear weapons. It's like, no, bro.
Did we have access to phones? Did we have supercomputers in our pockets? Did most of the population have supercomputers in their pockets where they could communicate with each other, like across the entire U.S. in quite literally 0.5 seconds?
Are you now suggesting that the government doesn't still compartmentalize and keep things
secret? What I'm suggesting is that it's significantly harder for them to hold back information now than it would be back in the past. Sure, it might have been possible for the government to withhold information about these particular things as it relates to the 1930s. But if we talk about how right now in 2024, where we have significant access to phones, the internet, right? I don't see that to be a possible type of thing. Or not possible, probable, my bad.
Bro, you can be charged with treason, which is punishable by death in military tribunals in America. You can't just go work for intel agencies and then go around saying all the secrets, because you could be literally charged with treason. And you say that there are whistleblowers, but we've seen that certain whistleblowers, right, they get locked up in prison. So not only would you be threatened, being like risking treason, but like some of them actually get locked up in like Julian Assange. He got locked up, right? So like,
and we hear about these things. We have information. It's blasted all over the media. Okay.
Yes.
So that doesn't make any sense. We would hear the same types of things as it relates to the things about the Illuminati, but we're not seeing that exact same type of thing.
Do you not understand the point that someone else would see that Edward Snowden had to go on the run and that Julian Assange went to prison, and they're like, I'm not going through that. I'm not risking getting charged with treason. And most of them wouldn't even know because of compartmentalization, like the Manhattan Project. So that's a straw man when you guys say flat earthers think millions of people are in on some lie. No one thinks that. That's ridiculous. Right? It's just like the Manhattan Project. It's compartmentalized.
No, plenty of people think that. That's ridiculous, Reset. I constantly have people come on my platform literally all the time that say that. For you to say no one believes that is ridiculous. Fundamentally, almost every other flat earther that I've talked to has assumed that. Literally every single one.
That's crazy that I've been a flat earther for 7 years and talked to many thousands of them, even in person. And I've never met one person ever that thinks that many millions of people are all keeping a secret and in on a lie that they know the earth is flat. I've never heard such a thing.
Oh, that's a bit ridiculous for you to claim. Literally, like, dude, it's literally almost every flat earther I've engaged with.
See, this is kind of bad faith, bro. That's what
how is it bad faith for me to explain that? Tell me how Witsit.
To me, because it sounds like poisoning the well, and I've never actually.
That's not poisoning the well. I'm just telling you from my experience. Every flat earther that I've engaged with has had a belief like that.
Is it possible that you maybe assumed that they did, but that isn't actually their claim? Like you kind of assumed that I did, right? You assumed that I believed that, but that would be such a ridiculous claim. That's so stupid, right? If anyone believes, even if they're flat earth, they don't care. If someone believes that
you believe all of these are CGI, dude, come on, Witsit. Dude, that is so ironic for you to say that that's such a bullshit claim for them to be all conspiracy coping and stuff like that. But then you believe in that same shit.
I've stated my claim very simply, which is that I've caught them with footage that clearly seems to be doctored and faked. And then we have apologists running around pretending they know what's going on and making excuses. But guess who doesn't give us the official reason? NASA. So people go around the internet and make up stories about why we see their shirts get pulled and all stuff, but NASA doesn't do it. NASA doesn't do it. So, like, I don't believe in that anymore. To me, it's like, well, we should be able to test and prove all of this without trusting the government going to space, right? Any government. We should be able to just personally test it on the Earth. We have interferometry and these different things. So it's much more intelligent to independently verify something than to rely on a group of people that we know do, in fact, lie at times, and we have caught them with some suspicious activity, right? Like, that's the point. And even if they were real, like if you saw the Earth spinning,
you just call all the independent verification bullshit.
How?
You literally called it all CGI.
No, what independent verification? I'm saying we can't go to space and film the alleged globe, my brother. We can't independently.
We filmed curvature not just from these, but like from the imaging that goes back to the blue marble. We've gotten videos from the ISS. I mean, there's even SpaceX went up to. Sent plenty of things up to like high places of the atmosphere, which indicated curvature. So like all of this, you're going to say is CGI.
You're still invoking something that can't be independently verified. So like
these are all independent verifications.
No, they're not. No,
SpaceX is independent.
First of all, that isn't true either. So Elon Musk explicitly states that they would have never gone to space without NASA. They had to give all their computer access to the federal government and to NASA.
Concorde. Millions of people aboard Concorde.
Really? I thought that it didn't fly anymore.
Yeah, did it fly?
Yeah.
Did it have over 3 million passengers over the course of its lifespan? Yes.
Yeah.
Did it fly high enough to see the curvature of Earth?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
This is back to where the anti-flat earthers disagree with all the mainstream physicists that run around and say that do the math.
What mainstream physicist?
Like
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. Can you drop?
Yeah. Did you watch the entirety of that video where he said this shit is flat, and he goes on to say what you will see is the horizon?
Yeah, I watched him specifically say that even from 62 miles, you wouldn't see the curvature because of the proportion of your height above that, and also the guy that runs the PhD that runs the biggest planetary, the biggest planetarium in the world, says that you wouldn't even see it from the ISS. You guys don't ever provide the math.
I have a photo from 38,000 feet of curvature.
I have a photo from 5 feet up of a sidewalk curving. You want to see it?
You want to see it?
I have a photo of a sidewalk curving.
I can actually give you the information on it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just under a 70-degree field of view, shot with a 28 millimeter lens on an iPhone 12.
Oh my gosh, the iPhone would never impose curvature.
No, how much? So tell the professional photographer how much curvature a 70-degree field of view on a 28 millimeter lens is going to impose. Witsit, please.
It would depend on your angle.
All of your wisdom.
It would depend on your.
No, it doesn't depend on your.
Notice how you couldn't defend the rotation. Yeah, you had to run around the pictures.
Because the conversation.
You were so cocky with the last guy, though.
Yeah. I said we had video. You were so cocky with the last guy, walking him through how the pendulum works and everything. I'm still cocky with it, and we can just go out and measure. We can just go out and measure the curvature of the Earth. We don't even have to leave Earth. We can just fucking measure it.
So can we get back to like? Do you have evidence the Earth's rotating? Because you admitted you don't have evidence that it's orbiting, and you couldn't rebut it.
Measure? So do you see the prompt in this live? Prove to me the Earth is flat. So can we just measure the curvature of the Earth? Witsit?
No. What you do is you use like theodolites far outside of their accuracy range. And just to clarify, you're admitting that you can't
1,200 feet. Over 1,200 feet. Can we use a theodolite within 1,200 feet?
And dude, the funniest part is everyone can see that you're so terrified. You're so terrified of the.
Oh, I'm terrified. Am I still here? Did I drop and come back? Did I drop and come back? Am I terrified of you? Absolutely not. So
it's crazy that
is 1,200 feet within the accuracy range of a theodolite.
No, really, if you look at the manual, the accuracy is 200 to 300 feet ideally, right? But what I'm going to say, you're going to interrupt me again. There you go. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make a point, please.
What is a theodolite used for? What is a theodolite used for? What's its main purpose?
Real fast. So you said that I'm deflecting, but actually you deflected from the orbit.
What is a theodolite used for? What is a theodolite used for?
Typically surveying or building something.
But what specifically does a theodolite do?
It establishes a level to survey.
To then do what? Turn an angle, correct?
Sure, but why is it that you think that it's permissible that every time I'm making a point you can't address it? So you admit you're running away. You're running away.
Can we use that? Yeah, I told you at the beginning of this conversation, I'm not a physicist and I'm not well versed in relativity or Michelson-Morley, Michelson-Gale, whatever.
For the relativity point, Witsit, we should set up a conversation with Blitz that I can host.
Yeah, I'm down for sure. So you said though that we could. You said that we could prove the Earth was rotating, though. You said that you could prove the Earth was rotating.
I said we had videos.
So so that's all you have.
You said those videos are CGI.
No, I didn't. I never even said the word CGI this whole conversation. Yeah. That's a lie.
You said those videos were fake because you can't trust anything because you believe.
I have not said CGI. What I said was, even if I granted you that the satellites were really out there, that wouldn't even prove the Earth was rotating according to your own claim if you understood what relativity means. But you don't. You don't even understand your belief. You just believe it.
Yeah, so we can't get a video of
But I'm pretty sure you did say CGI earlier, to my knowledge. I think you did. I know you said fake for sure, but like I'm pretty sure you also have said CGI. That could have been just like a back and forth claim with like me saying CGI or something, and then you responding to that or something. I don't know.
No, I didn't.
But I do remember you saying it.
But I just specifically don't want to talk. To me, we can disagree that like claims from the government that they're out in space taking pictures, I don't agree with them. I think I've seen too much skeptical. I encourage everyone to go research all of the bloopers from NASA and make up your own mind. And if you want to believe them, you can. I've seen people do mental gymnastics.
Can we forensically analyze those bloopers and see if they're what you're claiming?
Have you done that?
Yeah.
Really?
Can we forensically analyze them?
Can you send it to me?
Yeah. Can we forensically analyze them and prove that either you're right or I'm right? Is that a possibility in 2024?
I think I'd be interested in seeing it. I'm not going to say that you could definitively prove it, but like you just claimed that you've done it. I know you haven't. So would you send me over the forensic analysis?
Sure.
You don't have it. You don't have it. So let's move on to something other than pictures. Let's just say this. You agree you can't prove it without invoking pictures? You agree you can't prove it? You can't prove rotation without invoking satellite videos?
So for instance, do you know what the lighting issues would be with any of the lunar landing photos?
I thought we were debating if the Earth was rotating, not if the moon landing was real. It's kind of crazy that you're so scared because the thing is you were so cocky with the last guest, right?
Yeah, Witsit, you do this to everybody that you talk to. Yeah, I've seen your debates on Jeranism where you start whining about fallacies and people talking over you, and you threaten to rage quit if Jeranism doesn't do what he's supposed to do.
That's never happened. I've never threatened to rage quit on Jeranism. That's a lie.
No, you said if this is the way it's going to go, I can just leave.
I did not.
Yes, you did. I've definitely watched your debates, especially with MC Toon and Craig.
Do you agree that if someone consistently interrupts someone, that's bad faith and that's not proper etiquette in a debate?
Was I not muted for like 20 minutes while you and Parker talked?
Yeah, but what does that have to do with whenever I'm trying to talk to you? You're incessantly interrupting.
Witsit, you love to do the same thing. So the reason I brought up the photos is because you said the videos don't prove anything because there are supposed bloopers. My question to you is,
that's not what I said.
Do you know how we can prove? One, I can actually prove that at least one of the videos from Apollo missions was impossible to fake on Earth.
I'm actually currently not defending the Apollo mission. What we were talking, there's an interruption. Like every time I start to talk, you have to censor me because it's your only way to get control of the conversation because you can't actually debate it.
Yeah, no, I can actually debate it.
Then why do you not let me finish talking?
So if Apollo went to the moon, if Apollo went to the moon, does that not mean we actually have photos of Earth and videos of Earth rotating?
I don't have to believe that they went to the moon, but here's an interruption.
I can empirically prove it.
How'd I know? So this is the point.
I can empirically prove it.
If you want to move on another subject, can you concede that you were not able to rebut the interferometry refuting the orbital claim and you can't substantiate the orbit?
I can rebut that, and that's what I'm doing now by proving we have been to the moon and to space with people, and we have video of the Earth rotating. Do you want to know how I can empirically prove we've been to the moon?
Oh, so just to clarify that there is no physical or empirical experiments or measurements that we can independently verify on the Earth to prove that the Earth is orbiting or spinning. Is that correct?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
So then what are they?
I said we have video of the Earth's rotation, and I said we can empirically prove that the evidence of us going to the moon could not be faked on Earth. Do you want to hear how?
No, actually what you said was we don't even need to worry about anything like that. We can go do tests ourselves here on the Earth right now and prove everything that we believe, quote unquote. And then I asked you to substantiate the orbit and the rotation with these experiments that you claim existed. And then you immediately diverted
the rotation. I said we can improve the rotation. You went on to a ring laser gyroscope and a Foucault's pendulum. And I said, oh, what about video?
No, but you avoided the ring laser gyro because you know that you're not going to be able to debate me about it.
Nope. You said you knew what I was going to say. See, this is how all of your debates go. They devolve into arguing over what was said. You even did it with Parker.
Yeah, because if someone misrepresents what you say, you have to correct it. If someone consistently interrupts you, you have to call it out. If someone consistently talks through the middle of you like you're doing right now, you have to call it out. And if someone consistently uses fallacies, you have to call it out.
You specifically said, I know what you're going to claim, and I'm going to destroy your claim. I said, go right ahead. I'm not even going to make a claim. You said ring laser gyroscope, Foucault's pendulum. I said video.
All right, let's get back to the point here. You said that we can do things on the Earth ourselves.
Nope. The point now is the video.
You did say that.
The point now is the video.
So you walk that claim back? So you walk that claim back?
No, the claim that I made 20 minutes ago before you had a conversation with Parker was the video. I'm not walking my claim back.
Your first claim was to make a point that we don't even have to rely on anything else. We can just do experiments ourselves here on the every time.
My claim with you in the box has been the video.
Isn't it funny that you have to do it every time?
I can give a time minute for both of y'all if you want. Witsit.
Yeah, that would be great. Honestly, I think so. You want me to go first? I don't care. Okay, so to be fair, right, I asked you if you were familiar with the interferometry measurements. That's because it's a direct physical measurement that we can all do, and it refutes the claim that the Earth is orbiting the sun. It's been replicated millions of times with microwave millimeter precision, radio wave millimeter precision. It's very accurate, and it debunks the orbit, right? And then you tapped out of that, but you said that we can prove everything that we believe about the Earth with experiments and measurements we can do ourselves on the Earth. I said, okay. Then let's do it with the orbit. You diverted to rotation and said that you were going to prove rotation with the empirical measurements on the Earth. That's proving the orbit indirectly. And now you're moving around to the Apollo mission. So I'm just asking, instead of me having to believe stories from the government, can you give us some actual empirical measurements or tests that we can do ourselves on the Earth that would prove that the Earth is rotating and orbiting, please?
When did I tell you specifically we can do that on Earth?
At the beginning of the conversation, you said that.
No, I didn't.
You literally
And
did,
at the beginning of the conversation, I said very clearly, I am not a physicist. I don't deal with relativity. I don't deal with Michelson-Morley. I don't deal with any of that stuff. Your eyes got real wide because you think you're dealing with somebody that, I can pull this over on him. Then I said, what about rotation? You said, if rotation is real, the orbit has to be real. And I said, perfect. Can we prove rotation? I simply asked a question. You said, well, I know what you're going to claim. I will destroy it. You said two things that are typically brought up in that conversation. I said a third. I have been on that ever since then. My claim still is we have video of Earth's rotation. We can prove that man has been into space empirically by analyzing the evidence we have been given. My question since then to you has been, do you want to know how we can empirically prove that we have been to space and those photos and videos are real?
Okay. So I am open to hearing your argument about an alleged forensic analysis. I asked you to send it to me. I know that it's not going to be nearly as fruitful for you to make claims about videos or specific segments of the moon landing, right? Where I can't see it or don't remember or haven't seen it, when in fact the original claim was that you could test it on the Earth. And what happened actually was with the previous guest, you were very cocky. You were talking down to him and you were talking in really remedial terms. You were like, do you know how the pendulum works? And so if you put a weight on a string, and so I'm saying, okay, since it's so easy to prove the Earth is rotating with a pendulum, like you were just now saying, then why can't you defend it now that someone that's very informed on it actually is here? And so that's a test that we can verify ourselves.
The reason I didn't bring up the pendulum is because you came in very cocky and said, I know what your claims are and I'm going to destroy those claims. Okay, tell me what the claims are. You think I'm going to make a claim that you claim you're going to destroy right away? No. I'm going to make a claim that you don't even think I'm going to make. And there has been forensic analysis that I can actually provide to you that you can do yourself on the videos. It's been done by Colorado State University.
Yeah, that's what's up. I'm saying I'm open to seeing that. I asked you to even send it to me, but I guess we're in agreement then that you can't provide actual empirical evidence that can be done on the Earth.
A Foucault's pendulum works, but if you're, I'm using the same tactic you do. You like to come in with a ton of knowledge that you think you have because you read up on a subject, and you like to railroad people who admit right from the get-go, hey, I don't have that knowledge. That's not my forte. So I know you don't have the photographic knowledge, so I'm just going to railroad you on that.
But no, actually, I'm exposing your behavior for the previous guest, because what happens is if a flat earther comes on here that's not as informed, then you're ready to talk about everything.
Okay, so
you're ready to talk about everything.
Instead of just bickering over bullshit.
Yeah.
Tell me why a Foucault's pendulum doesn't work when you can calculate what your latitude is what latitude you're at when it's done correctly.
Right.
What causes that?
For one, in real life application, it's very difficult to actually get the predicted precession, right? No. It's almost impossible to not impose lateral bias. You can burn the string to try to eliminate that. But even then, basically what people do is they wait till they get the result they think the globe predicts, and then they say, that's when I did it right. Every other time must have been user error. Now, even if we set that aside, which is just a fact, if I just set that aside, which is begging the question and then cherry picking the data, and assume that it actually does work every time, which it doesn't, there's no recorded documentation ever in the history of man of a pendulum not precessing at the equator, which is a requirement of the globe. No glober's ever seen it, but they all believe it. And even more than that, even if I grant
Why would it not precess at the equator where the tangential rotation is at its highest?
Wow.
What is the Foucault's pendulum measuring? Why does it precess? In our model, why does it precess?
You didn't know that pendulum.
Why doesn't it precess?
You didn't know that pendulums don't precess at the equator in your model?
Yeah. So in our model, why does it precess?
Wait, answer my question. You didn't know that
what is the precession a measure of, Witsit?
No, you're avoiding it because you just were.
No,
you know you're wrong.
What is All right, so I'll just answer the question. The precession is a measurement of the Coriolis effect.
Hey, can you address does the pendulum precess at the equator?
Does the Coriolis effect happen at the equator?
No.
No, it doesn't.
No, the pendulum doesn't precess at the equator according to your model because of the angle at which it is in relation to the angular rotation.
Yeah. So does the Coriolis effect happen at the equator?
No, because there is no angular displacement. Dude, you should look it up. Your model claims that the pendulum does not precess at the equator.
Sure.
Sure what?
Sure.
Okay, so now you know, but it's all good. I'm saying no one's actually ever measured that, but it's fine. What I'm trying to say is it's even stronger argument than that. Let's just pretend that it does. Let's pretend that the pendulum does always work, right? It doesn't in reality. It's a fact, but let's just pretend it does. Well, okay. In Harvard, it was documented for 17 straight years that the pendulum precession changes during eclipses and that it actually deviates in relation to the periodicity of the sun and the moon. What that proves, unequivocally, is that it is not the rotation of a globe causing the pendulum to precess, because it is changing in relation to what's in the sky.
Why does the precession also it can also be used to show what hurricanes do?
Wait. Why do you just ignore every argument I make?
Yeah. So why?
Yeah.
Because the argument you're making is just ridiculous. We have more than one way of proving these things. Why do hurricanes do what they do, and why do they match what pendulums do? Why is the deflection of a hurricane in the Atlantic always going northeast? It will always end up northeast of where it started. Why is it the exact opposite in the southern hemisphere?
Okay, so you are deflecting, and whenever I don't answer,
bringing up a rebuttal to your ridiculous claims that the moon causes the precession on a pendulum. So if you don't believe the precession of a pendulum, we can move on to hurricanes. Why do they do what they do? Explain that on a flat, non-rotating plane, please.
Okay, so what happens is I make a very specific, articulate argument, and then you respond with a question that's irrelevant to my argument. You whistle past it.
Not irrelevant to the argument. Still dealing with Coriolis effect. Am I correct?
You whistle past the actual argument I make, and then you ask another question. And if I point out that you're avoiding the first point, you claim I'm deflecting, and then the whole chat gaslights me along with you, acting like I'm deflecting.
Am I still talking about Coriolis effect like I was with the pendulum?
But I'm pointing out that if the Coriolis effect is true and it's causing the pendulum to precess based on the cosine of latitude on a globe.
Let's stream. I appreciate the description. Thank you.
If that's true, which also means it can't be precessing at the equator, then it would not change in terms of the periodicity of the sun and the moon or during eclipses. Do you agree?
Sure. So if the Coriolis effect isn't true, why do hurricanes do what they do?
Oh, it's inside of a torus field, and there's actually a conjugate geometric expression inside of that. But instead of diverting away, can you acknowledge that the pendulum does not measure Earth rotation?
What torus field is it in, please?
The Earth's magnetic torus field. Can you acknowledge that the pendulum does not?
Where is Earth's magnetic field, and how does that affect weather?
Wait. Can you acknowledge
where
that
is
the pendulum?
No, I'm not acknowledging. Where is Earth's magnetic field, and how does it affect weather?
You have a doctorate.
Your claim, to be clear, your claim is the Coriolis effect is bullshit. We have multiple ways of measuring it. Hurricanes is a really good measure of that. So please explain why hurricanes do what they do and never cross the equator.
Okay, but if you were going to be intellectually honest here, we're going to
I'm not being intellectually honest. I don't care about being intellectually honest. I want to know your claim right now is that the Coriolis effect is bullshit. Why do hurricanes do what they do?
This dude just said, I don't care about being intellectually honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Granted, I think in your context and your perception.
Right.
Well,
He's not trying to engage in like the meta convo. That's probably like what I think he means.
Well, we made it very specific. He said the pendulum precesses because the Earth is spinning, and I'm pointing out that if that's true, so everyone understands, that means the Earth is tilted on an axis and it's rotating. So based on where you are on that globe, there's a different angle, right? Like the pendulum is hanging at a different angle along the globe. So you can determine your latitude by getting the cosine of the latitude, and it'll tell you how much it should precess, right? And if that's the case, and it's because the Earth is spinning underneath it, then it would always remain the same at the same latitude, no matter what happens in the sky. But what has actually been observed is called the Elias effect, and it was actually observed 17 consecutive years after that at Harvard, that actually it changes with the sun and moon periodicity and the eclipses. That do you agree that disproves the claim that the pendulum is precessing because the Earth spins?
No, I'm claiming we can measure Coriolis effect in multiple ways. The pendulum is one of those ways, and hurricanes are another. If you disagree with the pendulum, then explain how hurricanes work.
Okay, I will happily do that, sir, but I would appreciate it if you at least acknowledge the conclusion of the previous point.
Not acknowledging, asking for clarification on how hurricanes work.
But that's a separate point, right? Which I even did. In good faith, I even did give a quick answer to it. But I don't think it's very fair to every time that you make a claim and I refute it, you just skate
I'm not
past
here
it.
to be fair. I didn't come up here and say, "Hey, I'm here to be fair to Witsit today." Let's be fair to Witsit. You disagree with the pendulum measuring Coriolis forces. I'm saying there's another way to measure Coriolis forces. Why do hurricanes that hit Miami always end up northeast in the U.S.?
Okay, so I will answer the question, and then we're going to go back to the fact you're avoiding the other point. Like, dude, I'm just saying, do you understand that even from the audience perspective, if they're trying to educate themselves?
I have like 10 minutes left before I'm going to go do more important things, like hang out with my wife.
Yeah. There's also someone. Their name is Bob Science Guy or something like that. Wants to debate
Bob
you.
Would be perfect.
He's not Bob though. Do you send a guest request? Because I don't see you in the guest box. I know that you were trying to send one, but I do not see you in the guest box.
Yeah. The only thing I'm going to say is if the whole thing is that every time I make a point that can't be rebutted, then it just switches over and it's like, let's spam Austin with random questions until we get a gotcha.
Do you send a guest?
Coriolis.
Yeah, okay. So
don't run away before Bob comes up.
You've been running away the whole combo. So
the pendulum, haven't been running.
The pendulum cannot be precessing because the Earth is spinning.
Hurricanes.
I've already addressed that within a torus field.
No, you haven't. How? Why do hurricanes?
Bro, you have impulse control issues, bro.
Why do hurricanes do what they do?
Okay, so I've already addressed that inside of a torus field, you have centripetal divergence and centripetal convergence, which is a conjugate geometry. Right, this is where people say word salad because they don't understand it, but it's pretty simple. You have the hyperboloid and the toroid, the donut and the inside of the donut, right? You actually have motion moving towards the center and moving out from the center overlaps. This is called a magnetic field. We have the inertial plane through the middle. What that gives you is counter rotations on the interior.
Where's the middle of this torus field, and is it directly over the equator?
I don't know that it's directly over the equator. That's a good question.
Why don't hurricanes cross the equator ever?
Well, I don't actually think that is true. So the vast majority...
It's 1,000,000% true. Do you want me to bring up a hurricane map of the last 200 years or so? No rotating cyclonic storm has ever crossed the equator. Why?
Well, like I said, even if that is true, which I will point out that most of them do move in specific ways, but they absolutely have been observed to move in the other way in the northern and southern hemispheres. No, that's a fact. It's been documented.
Give me the name of the storm.
Okay, I don't know it off the top of my head, So that's not like some type of gotcha.
They absolutely have not ever been.
Yes, they have.
Okay. What year?
I don't remember, dude. But this is what's so funny, right? It's like every time you bring up a point, it's very specific. You can deflect away from it. But if I can't remember the random name of a storm, then I'm wrong, right? It's such a double standard. Hey, do you understand that I did address your point, which is that there is a rotation and a counter rotation? Do you agree?
You're just saying things that are factually incorrect. Like they have been witnessed to rotate in other directions. Have you ever been through a hurricane?
That's completely irrelevant.
No, it isn't completely irrelevant, because if you have been through a hurricane, you would know, you can tell how the storm is rotating simply by being in it.
But I never disputed that the vast majority of hurricanes spin a separate way in the north and the south. That's literally irrelevant. Yeah. I've explained actually how it would work. There's a rotation and a counter rotation in a torus field. Mm-hmm. Hey, answer this question. Is there a rotation and a counter rotation in a torus field?
I was talking about the deflection of them, was I not?
Hey, is there a rotation and a counter rotation? Is there a rotation and a Is there a rotation and a counter rotation?
Did I not specifically say the deflection of the hurricanes? Why do they deflect?
Because there's a rotation and a counter rotation inside of a torus field. So I'm asking you the question.
What prevents them?
Oh my God.
So why, when we're forecasting these things, do we never say, oh, hey, the counter rotation of the torus field is going to predict that it goes this way? Why is that never taken into account?
Because
why are hurricane tracks accurately predicted using other methods?
Because we know the actual wind patterns that have been mapped out. So if anyone wants to go to bobwinds.com, they can actually look at the wind pattern.
What happens to a hurricane if it encounters upper level winds?
Bro. Let's be real here. So, like, if you go look at the actual wind patterns mapped out on a plane Earth, you will see why the hurricanes do what they do.
Just evidence that you don't know what you're talking about. What happens to a hurricane if it encounters upper level winds?
If it encounters upper level winds, what happens to it?
It gets.
I'm assuming it gets deflected.
No, it gets ripped apart.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because you're saying, oh, we know how they're going to go based on wind patterns. It has nothing to do with the wind patterns.
Okay, that's a cool story, because your model claims that the wind patterns are directly in effect of the rotation of a globe.
Hey, that was fun. Looks like I finally got it. Thank you for your help, Parker.
Hey, Bob.
Of course, man.
Yeah, now I see joins and stuff. I had to hit multi-guest for some reason.
Yeah, that's how you open it up, yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, I'm new here on TikTok. I'm still learning the ropes. But you know what I do? I do actually do the measurements that Witsit wants. For example, I've measured curvature, rotation, I've tracked the ISS, and checked our orbit. So you want independent verification? Here I am, Witsit. Good to see you. How's the new baby, by the way?
She's not so new anymore. Okay, thanks for asking. So this is a simple question, right? If the pendulum is precessing because the globe is rotating,
okay,
do you agree that that can't be true if it actually changes with the eclipses and the periodicity of the sun and the moon?
No, I don't.
So how could that? Okay, so you're saying that the stuff in the sky.
Okay, now first of all, Austin, this is characteristic number one of denial, and that is cherry picking. You found one report, which you probably just read the headlines of, and are ignoring everything else that Dr. H has been bringing up for the last hour. You've ignored trade winds. You've ignored hurricanes. You think that you're gonna disprove rotation because you found one article from Harvard that had a result that you didn't understand. Well, I've personally measured rotation. I haven't done the Foucault's pendulum, but I have done weight changes by latitude. And I've compared those results with people all over the world that did it at the same time. And guess which model it matches? It's 98.4% spherical Earth of WGS 84. And if you want to look at my channel today, I actually present the results of all of those tests all over the world, northern and southern hemisphere.
Am I supposed to just listen to you monologue, Bob? Is that what we're doing
of the
now?
Earth according to the current model of the Earth. You know what the correlation
You're still
between
going.
flat Earth is? Zero. Zero.
Okay, are you done with all the posturing? Okay, so first of all, you
Don't tell me I'm posturing.
Immediate interruption.
Water. I'm going to give you the.
Wait, Witsit, you were quite literally interrupting him. That's completely just. Yeah.
Well, I sat quiet for like a full minute, though, right?
Go ahead and keep going.
I mean, I can. Do you want me to do timing? Witsit?
Well, I would just appreciate if they'll just show basic courtesy and not interrupt me, because
you were interrupting him.
But I sat quiet for a minute, and he made like 10 different points.
You sat quiet for a minute. Okay, well,
and I addressed.
You don't want timing. You want to do claim by claim.
I addressed one issue, and that is my test of the rotation compared to the other tests of the rotation that were done at the same time by one method. That's all I talked about.
Okay, so I just want everyone to know that what does always happen is the Globers have to incessantly interrupt. So you did not just make that claim. What you said was falsely that I denied trade winds, didn't even talk about that I denied hurricanes, not true, specifically addressed it. And in fact, the entire conversation with him was him avoiding the conclusion of positive claims that he made to me and the guest before this. Then you said that I just randomly read the headline of one article that I don't understand and cherry picked it.
Yep.
When you have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I don't?
Never read it. You've never read it. It isn't one article. It's 17 consecutive years of precise documentation of the pendulum processing differently in accordance with the periodicity of the sun.
Oh, did they write a different article for each of those 17 years?
It's not an article. It's a scientific paper of 17 years of documentation, and you can actually have access to all of the documentation, which, yes, is broken up into different papers.
Okay, so they wrote 17 different papers outlining each year and explaining it. What was their explanation for it?
Okay, so then you did just character assassinate me and make up
what is the explanation for this change in the pendulum?
Okay, just to clarify, you did actually lie about the situation, and you haven't read it yet.
No, I haven't. Okay. I'm asking you what the paper said.
I'm going to tell you, but you have to stay calm. For this? Yeah, you have to stay calm. So I know that you want me to give you.
I know you can play the Caleb stay calm crap. Go ahead, play his little card. Is he your flirt daddy now? So tell me what their explanation
you are spiraling
for that change in the pendulum was.
Yeah, so I know that you want me to tell you their explanation of a paper that you haven't read and a phenomena that you haven't researched, so you can then turn around and pretend that you fully understand it and immediately absorb it as your own belief. No, tell me
what their explanation was.
Okay, they said they don't have an explanation for it, and they don't know how to explain the phenomena.
Okay, and what was the magnitude of the phenomena?
It changes based on the periodicity of the sun and the moon. I don't remember the exact numbers.
That's what magnitude means.
I don't remember the exact numbers because the numbers don't.
Was it a huge number? Was it big enough to?
Yes.
Was it big enough to overturn our concept of Coriolis?
It was far outside the error margin and far outside of the prediction of Coriolis, which is why I don't remember the exact percentage or numbers, but that doesn't really matter. Okay. That doesn't really matter because the point is that the correlation with the sun and moon periodicity and the eclipses proves that what happens in the sky is affecting that pendulum. Now, that is not what the globe model claims. The globe model claims that it's actually the Earth underneath the pendulum that's causing the precession, right? So if the pendulum is changing during eclipses and it changes based on the cycle of the sun and the moon, that would show a relationship between the pendulum and what's in the sky, correct, Bob?
Okay, so what we're seeing here is characteristic 5 of science denial, which is an inappropriate expectation of perfection from science. So he found a paper that has an anomalous finding in it that they can't really explain. He can't tell me that it's enough of a change to have actually overturned our current understanding of Coriolis. It doesn't refute the rotation of hurricanes, for example, in the northern and southern hemisphere. It doesn't refute why we have to adjust artillery shells to take into account Coriolis. It doesn't explain any of that, but he found this one cherry-picked article in this it's one cherry-picked paper that somehow he thinks overturns all of that. Is that about right, Austin?
No, of course not. So again, what you do is you just, after being directly rebutted, claiming that I cherry picked one article and that I pointed out it's actually 17 years of documentation. It's also been documented outside of that by Maurice Elias, a Nobel Prize winning physicist or mathematician, which I'm sure that doesn't matter somehow. I'm sure he's a quack or whatever, but it's just the actual evidence that I'm appealing to, not anyone that does it. So it's not just cherry picking one article. It's 17 consecutive years. And then they stopped doing it after the 17th year. It's not like it just stopped happening. Now, you also misrepresented me.
So why did they stop doing it?
You also misrepresented this and said that this was classification number 5 of science denial. You're so proud of your little list, I guess, and you're trying to force it in here, right? But you said that it was an unfounded expectation of perfection, right? But of course,
an inappropriate expectation of perfection is the words that I used.
Okay, but that's not what happened. I didn't claim that it had to be perfect. I said that the established and repeatable correlation between the precession and what happens in the sky, specifically the periodicity of the sun and the moon and the eclipses, shows that it is affected by what happens in the sky. I did not say, oh, because it's not perfect, blah, blah, blah. So that was also wrong. You're 0 for 2 with your little lists.
Okay, so you've had your chance to talk now. So what you're saying is that because you found this one little series of anomalies, that somehow that means that our entire understanding of Coriolis is going from being on a rotating surface to something that's happening in the sky. That's a hell of a leap of logic, wouldn't you think, Witsit?
No, I would not, because the actual antecedents of the physical claim that the Earth's spin based on the angular rotation causes the precession of the pendulum must, of course, remain constant based on latitude. So that is a parameter of your claim that is required, and the evidence shows that that is not true. Therefore,
does it change the function of a gyrocompass, which requires a Coriolis type effect?
Okay, so we're gonna divert again.
No, it's the same process. It's the exact same process. You may not realize that, but that's how a gyrocompass works. It works on the rotation of the Earth in gyroscopic precession.
But okay, so it prior to changing
rotation of the Earth, which also is required for Coriolis.
Prior to changing the subject and diverting to a gyrocompass, let's actually wrap up the pendulum, which is the fact that it changes with the sky. So do you agree that the pendulum must precess the same at the same latitude?
No, I do not.
If the cause of the precession is actually a rotating globe?
No, I do not, because the rotation of the Earth has minor variations in it.
Okay, but do the minor variations correlate with the periodicity of the sun, the moon, and the eclipse?
They can.
Why they absolutely do not. They
how
absolutely
do you know that?
Do
you don't even know how much it changed the pendulum.
The variation of the Earth's rotation is basically nil. And in fact, your model claims that it's so small that it's hard to even measure it.
Okay, so in other words, you say it's not real, and then you change that to say that my model says it's so small it's hard to even measure it. So
I never said
is it not real, or is it so small that we have trouble measuring it?
Oh, this is bad, man. So strongman fallacy. I never said it's not real. What I said is it doesn't correlate to the periodicity of the sun and the. No, I said it does not correlate to the periodicity of the sun and the moon and the eclipses. And you said, sure it does. And I said, no, it objectively does not. And of course, the actual deviation.
What affects our rotational speed?
The deviation in the precession is much greater than any deviation in the alleged rotation anyway.
Okay, so what causes changes in our rotational speed?
I don't believe, of course, that the Earth is rotating. I believe that you hijacked the sky rotating around us and claimed that it's an illusion.
Does that change weights with latitude?
It certainly can, and we can get into that.
Oh, it does.
But it's weird because it's like, why?
Tell me how that changes centrifugal force and weights with latitude.
Yeah. But real fast, can we conclude the first point instead of every single glober avoiding the concession because it's a dishonest tactic? So can you please address the point that
I'm not going to change the paradigm based on one set of reports that show a minor variation until you have a better explanation of it.
Okay, so do you agree, though, that if it was actually caused by the rotation of a globe, the precession would remain constant based on latitude? Wow.
No, I don't.
Okay, so you're
Side
a
Duck, thank you for the
Glover
subscription.
heretic.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Glover
sit down and say you have somehow disproved
Sarah, thank
Coriolis
you.
based on the fact that we measure Coriolis in many, many, many different ways, because you cherry picked one set of papers that you think somehow supports your claim, which of course you don't have with you right now, do you? So I can't even review what they
Yeah,
have to say.
I do actually. It's upstairs. I'll
Go
go
ahead
grab
and
it.
send
I'm on
them
my
right to
phone.
me.
I will as soon as I go back upstairs to my computer.
No, how about you go do it now? Because I'd like to go ahead. If you want to resolve this, let me look at the papers.
I'm fixing a drink downstairs on my phone. I will happily send it
Oh,
to
of
you when I
course.
get back to
Okay,
the
well,
computer.
send it to me, and maybe Parker will let us come back and address that once I've actually had a chance to review the
Fair
papers
enough.
you're trying to sandbag me with.
That's a fair response, right? If you had said, I haven't seen that data yet, Austin. So if you can send it over to me, then I'll look at it. We can
I
discuss
tried
it.
asking you about it, but you don't know it. So let me look at it, and I'll make my own assessments.
I gotta say, it is wild.
Your derp.
It is kind of wild how much you guys like interrupt, but it's whatever. I'm just saying, like, can you listen to what I'm saying?
My sentence.
Can we clean the slate and be like, okay, look, let's show each other respect and actually listen to what you're saying, and you listen to what I'm saying. Thanks. So that would require listening.
Here's the experiment that I did, Austin. I calibrated weights in Michigan, and then I drove them down to Panama City Beach, Florida, on the same weight, same scale. And I measured them every 2 degrees going down, and then I recalibrated them in Panama City and drove them back up to Michigan by another route. I went down through the mountains, and I came up west of the mountains to take out any effective altitude. And then what I did was I measured the weights every 2 degrees. And I compared those weights to what is predicted using Walter Bislin's rotation centrifugal calculator. I forgot the exact name of it, but there's a link to it in the video. And then what I did was I took those results and I combined them with the results of, 8 or 10 other people all over the world. And we matched it against a flat Earth, a non-rotating spherical Earth, a rotating perfectly spherical Earth, and a rotating Earth with WTS.
Thank you, Marshmallow.
Guess what they matched?
I'm assuming that you're going to claim they matched the globe, of course, but I'm, of course, not interested.
It's not a claim. They did match the globe, and they matched it to a 98.4% predictive value.
Okay, so now I'm, of course, not interested in your claim of the straw man fallacy of the flat Earth you supposedly compared it to and it didn't work, because we would actually expect a change in weight if there is. Yes, right?
Why?
Because just like with the pendulum, if the pendulum is precessing but changing with the periodicity of the sun and the moon, the eclipses, if we actually have a gyroscope and it changes, the interferometry measurement changes with altitude and changes, it has a propagation rate preference of direction, it changes with equinoxes, etc. That does, of course, imply, listen, dude, and we, of course, have the Sagnac effect that we also detect, right, which is what the ring laser gyro detects. That actually does suggest and actually proves that we can detect the motion of the sky. So there is a spin over top of the Earth, right? You think that it's an illusion, and actually the Earth is not moving and spinning. It just looks like that because we're spinning, and we just can't tell.
Okay, so wait a minute. Let's go ahead with your claim, and that is that your claim is that this would occur on a flat, non-rotating Earth. Your claim is nonsense because you're trying to allude to the fact that it's an equinox or there's an eclipse.
What?
Or the sky is rotating over our head or something. It was not on the equinox. It wasn't on the solstice. It wasn't during an eclipse. It wasn't during a particular phase of the moon. In fact, the phases of the moon were different because it was a week apart.
Okay, I didn't claim that. I didn't claim any of that.
Dismissed out of hand.
Those are all straw man fallacies. I did not claim that it changed based on any of those things. What I actually said.
You did?
No.
You didn't?
No. What I actually said.
Are you having memory problems, Witsit? Because not 5 minutes ago, you said that the Foucault's pendulum and blah, 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 changes with equinox, changes with solar and lunar eclipses, and all of that. Now, all of a sudden, when I blow it out of the water, you didn't say it. I got you.
Okay, so you didn't. You're gonna interrupt me again. Watch. So you actually didn't blow it out of the water.
I appreciate it.
What you actually said was it can just be dismissed out of hand. And of course, you're straw manning what I actually said, which what I said was based on all of those other evidences, which is that the measurements of the pendulum precession, the ring laser gyros changing with altitude, changing with this celestial phenomena, shows that we can actually detect the spin of the sky on the Earth. So what I actually said was we can substantiate that we are detecting the sidereal rotation on the Earth, and it actually changes with altitude, right? Making on a stationary Earth, the sky is rotating and we can detect it. And what you then did was strawman me and claim I said that the weight changes based on these things. I didn't say that. Of course, you don't have the measurements to
that's what we were addressing. So by bringing those up, you're implying that those somehow have an effect on it.
No.
Because you claim that this could happen on a flat Earth.
No,
I addressed
didn't
your
imply
claims
that.
and
No,
showed you why they're being dismissed.
Bob, can you please listen to me in good faith for once? So I did not imply that whatsoever. What I said was because of those things, we have proven that we can measure this rotation of the sky on the Earth. That would then mean that there is a detectable drift over the Earth, and that would, of course, also potentially affect things such as weight, because you would still have centrifugal force that comes from the angular momentum of that vortex motion or drift. So then you could, of course, so that proves that you cannot claim exclusivity of a spinning globe regarding weight change with latitude.
Because of something called preponderance of evidence. All right. This is expected on a rotating sphere at the WGS 84 model. Okay. We got the exact results that you would expect from that. There are other tests of rotation that you can do as well. The Foucault pendulum you already alluded to. You have the laser ring gyro. You have the gyro compass, which does not work unless the Earth is rotating. You have the fact that my equatorial mount on my telescopes track the sun, the moon, and the stars at different rates that are based on the rotation of the Earth.
You're scattergunning.
So no, I'm not scattergunning. I'm giving you examples of how we verify that the Earth is indeed rotating, and they all come back to approximately the same rotation.
Okay, now this is the facts.
Because I don't know how many decimal places you want to take it out.
These are the actual facts, right?
These are the actual facts, yes.
The actual facts are that when people have made highly precise weight measurements based on latitude with probably a much more sensitive scale than you had, they've shown that it actually doesn't always match the latitude prediction. This is a fact to such an extent that Ivy League schools have actually come up with theories to explain the anomalies and the inconsistencies of the change in weight at latitude. But somehow...
What is the precision of my scale, Austin?
I don't know. That's why.
Okay, then why do you say that people make it with scales that are more precise than mine? What's the precision of my scale?
I said probably, but you always try to avoid the conclusion by censoring it. So of course the facts are that it does change. So unless you are implying that we should trust a couple anti-flat earther YouTubers over the precise measurements of universe done with the top level instruments and been done many times.
Characteristic number 3 of science denial is promotion of fake experts over real experts. My results came back in line with actual experts in this, and it matched the findings of other people all over the world in the northern and the southern hemisphere.
Did you just refer to yourself as the real expert, and you referred to the Ivy League universities?
Fake experts and cherry-picked information over actual experts whose results match what I got.
You just referred to your measurements as the measurements of actual experts, and then the Ivy League
expert, yes.
And then the Ivy League universities as
what Ivy League universities specifically? Tell me what measurements by what investigators in what paper you are referring to.
Stanford has done measurements of weight change at latitude and shown that they do not always correspond to latitude, and there are fluctuations.
By how much?
Snell, thank you for the subscription.
By how much?
I don't remember. Even up to like
okay, 20. So you cannot, unless you can tell me, unless you can give me actual results that you're citing and show that those results are significant enough to tell me that a gyro compass won't work because the Earth isn't rotating, because we got it wrong, I'm not interested in your cherry-picked derp.
Just because you keep on using slanderous and defamatory language of calling me a derp or calling what I say derp and all this nonsense.
No, you're a cherry picker. What you're saying is derp. Let's get
define cherry picking.
Cherry picking is finding a anomalous result that somehow in your mind seems to support your opinion.
That's not what cherry picking is.
That is the exception to the overwhelming rule of all the other findings on the same subject.
Cherry picking is grabbing a piece of information out of context that, if placed in context, would actually directly contradict the argument or claim it was invoked to make. You guys all use the word cherry picking, but don't even.
I appreciate the subscription. Thank you so much. I mean, you kind of said pretty similar to what you said. I'm not gonna lie. What's it?
I know, but what I'm saying is
because you only listened to the first part of what he said. Heart killing, I appreciate it. Boston, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Because the second part, he then clarified that. Hot mess, I appreciate the subscription.
No, I do agree.
So let's go ahead and go back to the fact that my results match the predictions of our hypothesis and our model. The fact that they match the predictions is very strong supporting evidence that that model is correct.
It matches the predictions of a stationary plane as well.
No, it does
and
not.
The reason it matches
against a stationary plane.
The reason you match it. I guarantee you did not account for the measurable drift of the sidereal rotation that's been detected with interferometry. You actually outright deny facts because you're a science denier. So that isn't my problem.
Okay, so how do you think interferometry somehow supports your position?
Well, I've explained it 3 times, but I'll do it again. So
Please
the interferometry, so we used interferometry to detect sidereal rotation, right? And you guys claim,
first of all, before we do that, let me just clarify exactly what is sidereal rotation.
The rotation of the stars.
Okay, and so what is sidereal rotation on Earth?
What?
What is the value for sidereal rotation from the Earth?
The value, like the time?
Yes.
Like 23 hours, 56 minutes.
And 4 seconds.
Okay, yay.
All right, close enough. Why is a day 24 hours?
Well, no, dude, you see how you interrupted me making a point to then start asking me a bunch of questions to try to get a gotcha?
All right, so go ahead and tell me how is the sidereal day change? So we're 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. How much does it change? How many seconds does it change? How many minutes does it change?
Another random question to try to get a gotcha and a straw man. I never claimed that it changed. So what I actually
said interferometry says the sidereal rate changes. So what's the range that it changes to?
I didn't say that. What I actually said was when we use interferometry, we can make measurements of interference patterns on the Earth, and it matches the sidereal rotation. What we found is that measurement actually changes as we get higher. What that means is that as we get closer to the sky, as we get closer to the sky, the drift that is being detected changes. Now, this is also impossible.
How much?
Up to maybe 5 to 10%, I think. It doesn't
5 to 10%?
I think so, yes. And it actually doesn't.
Do you have a paper? You have a citation for that?
Yes.
All right, give me that one too.
Okay, no problem.
So we got the pendulum and eclipses, and now you say that the sidereal rate of the sky changes by 5 to 10% as we go to what altitude?
Another straw man fallacy. And you said the straw man, and then I corrected and said, no, I'm not saying that the sidereal rotation changes at all. What I'm saying is that interferometry measurements change when you increase altitude. You guys claim that the reason that there's an interference pattern...
interferometry measurements of the sidereal rate change. And I asked you how much, and you said 5 to 10%.
Okay, so if you keep interrupting me, it doesn't make you right. You know, like if LeBron's on you, but you tackle him, you didn't beat LeBron, dude. So the problem is that the measurement shouldn't change with altitude.
Yes.
Peaceful, I appreciate the subscription.
Yeah, that's just change without playing chess to Witsit. Don't go there.
Can you answer this question? Do you agree that the interferometry measurements and the interference pattern, if it is caused by the rotation of a globe, should remain consistent at latitude and not change with altitude?
It's an order of magnitude. All right. It's an amount of magnitude. I would have to see your paper. Now, if you have a 1 part in a million change, I would find that interesting, but I wouldn't really change my opinion on sidereal rate. Sidereal rate is sidereal rate.
Okay, well, this is simple physics. So if the Earth is rotating,
physics. Okay.
Yes. If
what
the
are the
Earth
three
is,
laws of motion, Witsit?
dude, you notice how you start spiraling? So you're like, dude, let me ask Austin questions and see if I can get a gotcha, so I can convince everyone he's stupid.
Econo, I appreciate the subscription.
Like, it's not going to work. You're trying to deflect away because you don't know the answer to this, and please just show good faith. So if the Earth is a spinning globe, the interference pattern, which is what you guys claim the ring laser gyro is measuring, the spin of the Earth based on the interference pattern, it's called the Sagnac effect. If that's actually true, and it's because the Earth's a globe that rotates, then if you're wherever latitude you're at, that's going to remain the same. You're going to get the interference pattern based on latitude. What has been proven with over 5 million measurements is that if you actually increase altitude, that measurement changes even at the same latitude. So do you agree?
Okay, so Austin, first of all, you haven't provided any proof that even occurs. And second of all, if it does occur, you haven't provided any indication of what the amount of change is. So until you present that, I'm not going to weigh in on it one way or the other. I will go with what the science says.
Okay, so it shouldn't change at all, right? So if it consistently changes in proportion to altitude, that refutes the claim it's because of a spinning globe. It doesn't matter how much it changes.
It does not refute the claim that it's a spinning globe. It means perhaps that there is something going on that we're not taking into account for, and it requires further information. It does not refute anything.
Oh, so you can just baselessly appeal to the possibility that there's something else. Like this is your new dark matter. I promise something else is there because it has to be, because I have a belief. Is that your argument?
No, it's not a belief. We understand our rotation and we measure our rotation. I've personally done it.
No, you measure,
and it's verified. The fact that a gyro compass works on the Earth is proof of rotation alone.
Okay, so I'm going to name the papers. Dynamic.
No, I'm not. You're not going to name the papers. You're going to send me a link to them so that I can sit down and review them.
I will happily send
Starstruck, I appreciate the $5 in Cash App.
Yeah. They are PDFs, of course. They're not.
Yeah, you're not gonna be doing a QE where you sit down and flash gravity is not a force, Stanford University, and then move on quickly. You're going to actually provide the links, and I will review the papers, and then we'll come back and talk about them.
Okay, so I'm going to name the papers. So
I'm not going to have you name the papers because I'm not going to write them down. You're going to send me the links.
Okay, so observation during 2004 of periodic fringe shifts in an adielectromic stationary Michelson-Morley experiment. We also have the generalized Sagnac effect by Wang. That was Munera. We have James Demio, dynamic and substantive cosmological ether. Yuri Galev, which are very interesting. He showed that it changes.
So this is just name dropping. He's naming scientific papers or what he claims to be scientific papers without actually providing them.
Where do you want me to send them, Bob? Where do you want me to send them, Bob?
But they're going to be ignored unless you provide the links.
Okay, where do you want me to send them? Where do you want me to send them? To you in Discord?
Yeah, well, you can send them to me in Discord. You can send them to me here, wherever you want.
I'll send them to you on Discord.
You might even have my email. I don't know.
Oh, of course I do.
If you want it, I'll be happy to provide it to you.
You probably emailed me, but this is it's just we can move on. It's dude, you understand? I'm trying to be good faith, right? So like with the first one, you're like, well, dude, I've never seen those.
You're never in good faith, but I know you, so we're going to sit down and we're going to do the best we can here. You're intellectually dishonest.
But I'm being very intellectually honest by saying, well, of course, it's unreasonable to expect you to just know the answers to information that you haven't seen yet. So that isn't that's nothing but good faith, right? You're actually trying to get gotchas because you claimed you made measurements with a scale that I've never seen, don't know any of the details. I'm supposed to immediately answer.
They're published. I've published them.
Okay, these papers are published.
Okay, but I have physically published these things, and I did the tests myself.
Okay.
I know them.
Okay, these people have physically published them, and I know them.
And you're not there. You're not them. I'm
that
them.
Doesn't matter.
I'm the one that did the test.
Are you claiming that we can't invoke evidence unless we personally do it?
Results right here on TikTok.
Are you saying
Matter
we
of
can't
fact, it was
invoke?
my video today was the last of the series.
I get you're trying to push your social media, dude. No one cares. Are you
I
saying?
don't need to push my social media.
Okay. So are you saying that we can't invoke evidence unless we personally do it?
I'm sorry. No, I didn't say that at all.
Okay,
that's a flat earth trick.
So that was just an irrelevant point that you made then. So anyway, my point is...
the fact that I can speak for this particular experiment, I can do because I did it.
Okay, fair enough. And the fact that I can speak about these particular experiments is because I've researched them. And I'm saying it's, of course, fair enough. If you haven't researched them, that's fine. I will send them to you, right?
All right,
I'm asking if you would at least...
I will have a look at them in good faith, and we'll talk about it the next time if Parker has his back.
Okay, so just to recap, you're saying you're not really sure if you can explain the pendulum changing based on the periodicity of the sun and the moon and the eclipses, but you'll have to look at them. I'm saying this, I'm expecting you to keep your word
Actually see
because...
the data and be able to evaluate the data. I'm not going to sit down and make an opinion one way or the other based on something.
Okay, but do you also acknowledge that even according to relativity, Einstein said you must acknowledge the validity in the Machian principle that there would be a translation of motion from the sky?
I don't talk to flat earthers about relativity.
Okay, but that's what your model claims.
No, I don't discuss relativity with flat earthers.
So you're saying that you can't defend your model with flat earthers?
I'm not going to discuss relativity with people that struggle with the basic concept of gravity and the laws of motion. No.
You just diverted to an add-on, right? So and a poisoning the well. It's all good. So anyway, the point is that, of course, if everyone uses their brain here logically, if the Earth is spinning, causing the pendulum and causing the ring laser gyro, then that means it's going to stay the same at latitude because you're at the same latitude line on a globe, right? So you have a certain angle to that globe, and that causes a certain deviation, right? But it shouldn't change as you get higher because you're still at that same angle to a globe, just to make sure in layman terms that everyone gets it. So, but what actually happens, and it's pretty cool, it's that when you go higher in the sky, actually
I will review the papers, and we'll discuss that when I've had a chance to review the papers.
That you detect the rotation more and more and more, which is impossible on the globe. And then also, just real fast, that same interferometry technology is what Michelson-Morley was. And that actually refuted the claim that the Earth orbits around the sun. It required the globe model to throw out Newtonian.
And that is a common argument in the flat Earth. It's a misconception of Michelson-Morley. They were not testing for the orbit of the Earth around the sun. That was a known. That was a given. They were testing for the effects of the orbit of the Earth around the sun on the ether, which I might add, the luminiferous ether is nothing more than a construct of a man's mind, just as Einstein's space-time was. It was designed to try and explain something, and when it was tested, it failed. Einstein passed.
Okay, so it wasn't trying to detect the effect of the orbit of the Earth on the ether. What it was doing was
attempting to detect the orbit of the Earth on the ether. It was attempting to detect the effect of the Earth's known orbit on the ether. And I have verified the fact that we are indeed in orbit.
What they were trying to do is see if there was a change in the velocity of light in the relation to the assumed orbit of the Earth through the assumed ether.
No, that is a misconception.
Well, that's what Edward Morley said in his own words.
No, then you read the words wrong.
Because he literally said, we are doing a test with the objective.
Answer. Come on, Witsit, let me answer. They were testing the speed of light, assuming that it was being carried by the ether. And because the Earth is rotating, or is orbiting around the sun, that orbit should have had an effect on the ether and the speed of light in different directions. That's what they were testing for. They were not testing for orbit.
Dude, you literally just said the same thing I said.
The speed of light on orbit.
You literally just said exactly what I said, which was that they were trying to test for the change in the velocity of light in relation to the orbit through the ether. You said that's not what they did, and then repeated the same thing but less accurately. So anyway, I want to make a point, dude. It's very simple, right? That you can't just throw the ether out with MMX. That's not what happened. They didn't just say, oh, well, we disproved the ether and then kept it pushing. They had to also replace Newtonian mechanics. Okay, you had to change your entire model to keep the orbit of the Earth. You're aware of this, right?
No, we didn't have to change our entire model to keep the orbit of the Earth. What we did was we expanded on the model that we had and looked at it in a different way to account for the precession of Mercury. We had an error with Newtonian mechanics of 44 microseconds per century in the precession of Mercury.
Subscription.
Of course, that's just not true. So the reason that Einstein,
what do you mean it's not true?
That isn't the only reason that he came up with relativity was because of the perihelion shift of Mercury. That was, of course, observed 40 years before relativity. That's even long before. That's long before Michelson-Morley.
Yeah, but that was what the end result of Einstein was, is that we had a better understanding.
Okay, that's not what you said. You said that's why he made it.
No, it's not specifically why he made it. They spent 20 years after Michelson-Morley trying to figure out eddy currents in the ether and all sorts of other things. And then finally, Einstein came up with the correct interpretation some 30 years after the experiment was.
Okay, so what happened was they had to replace Newtonian mechanics with Einsteinian mechanics.
They did not replace Newtonian mechanics. Newtonian mechanics are within Einsteinian relativity.
They are patently different claims in terms of physics.
No, they are not.
Okay, one
they
says
have the exact same predictive results under the same circumstances.
No, they don't. One makes a different prediction for Mercury's perihelion shift. You just said that, which means they
44 microseconds per century, yes.
Okay, so then they aren't exactly the same.
It doesn't change satellites in orbit. It doesn't change artillery shells. It doesn't change Newtonian mechanics being used to design bridges. Anything that is not approaching the speed of light or is not extremely massive, such as Mercury being next to the massive sun,
I've already said this.
does
I've
not
already said your
require
script.
relativistic corrections. Now, there are certain things that do, such as the timing signals from GPS satellites.
Okay.
Those require some relativistic corrections.
Cool.
But putting that satellite into orbit is Newtonian.
Okay, that's what's up. So that's a diversion. We're not. Oh, you were going to say something, Parker?
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
So, yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about satellites right now. What we're talking about is how even Einstein, in his own words, said that he came across the strange results of Michelson-Morley, and that was the, quote, first path which led me to the theory of relativity. So the reason is... I don't disagree with that. Okay, but the reason is because Newtonian mechanics says that an object in a straight path will continue in a straight path unless an external force acts upon it. And if that was true...
Law of motion, number what?
I don't remember. If that's true...
It's number one.
If that's true, then that means that you would be able to detect the orbit, because that means a force is acting on it and it's going in a curved path. So then the interferometry would measure it. That's not what happened. So we had to
change measuring the orbit. That was a given.
Dude, yes, but if the orbit was doing the orbit based on Newtonian mechanics, it would have been detected with the interferometer, which is why Einstein said in his own words...
No, it would not have been. Jesus, you don't know what this experiment even involved. It had nothing to do with detecting the orbit of the Earth. It had to do with detecting the speed of light as the Earth orbited through the ether. And
how did they get their prediction?
Ether they were looking for, not the orbit of the Earth.
Really, how did they get their prediction of the fringe shift?
Well, they knew the orbital speed of the Earth.
So they had to use the orbit to predict the outcome of the experiment?
Correct.
Oh, so then they were trying to get a measurement that was directly related to the orbit.
They weren't measuring the orbit. They knew the orbit. They knew the orbit. They were looking for the effect of the orbit on the ether.
No, on light. So this is simple, right? Let's see if you can answer this question, because bro, please stop doing that. Okay, so it's very simple. I'm asking you a simple question so we can get through this without it taking forever. Okay, do you think that Michelson-Morley disproved the ether?
Yes.
Okay, do you think that from your heliocentric model paradigm that the only thing you need to do to explain Michelson-Morley is to get rid of the ether?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate why that's incorrect. Do you know what the Sagnac? Do you know what the Sagnac effect is?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, so do you agree that we can detect an object moving in a curved path with interferometry, which is the Sagnac effect?
Nat, thank you.
That's the function of a laser ring gyro.
So you agree then that your model requires you acknowledge that you can use interferometry to detect an object moving in a curved path.
Yep.
Okay, can you do this without an ether?
Yes.
Right, you have to, right? Because your model says there is no ether and that we do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do it all the time.
Right. So then interferometry will detect an object moving in a curved path without an ether. Okay, that means that if you throw the ether out, when you look at Michelson-Morley, you still have to explain why the interferometry did not detect the Earth moving in a curved path around the sun, right, Bob?
How do you know it didn't?
Because there was a predicted value of what that orbit would have given you, which was 30 kilometers
we knew
a
the
second.
orbit. We weren't detecting the orbit. We don't detect orbits of the Earth with laser ring gyros. We detect the rotation of the Earth with them, but we don't detect our orbit in around the sun with a laser ring gyro. We use other means to do that, and I've actually done a few of them.
Okay, but you just now conceded that an interferometer would detect an object moving in a curved path without an ether, which means that the interferometer should have detected the Earth, an object, moving in a curved path, even if you throw out the ether.
Okay,
you then
so
said, how do you know it?
All right, so let's go ahead and do this logically. The Earth is rotating at 15 degrees per hour. What is the rotational speed around the sun of our planet as a whole?
30 kilometers a second.
And how many degrees is that?
I don't know. It doesn't.
Why don't you know how many degrees that is? How many degrees are in a circle, Witsit?
You guys claim that there isn't a curved path. There's no degrees.
Answer the question that I gave you. How many degrees are in a circle?
Dude, 360, but I'm not going to put Bob, this is what you're doing.
How many
as soon
days
as you
are
get
in
to
a
where
year,
you
Witsit?
as soon as you get to where you're being disproven, you
I'm not
divert to this
disproven.
weird.
How many days are in a year? 365.
You divert to this.
So that means that our orbit around the sun is on the order of 1 degree per day. What's the sensitivity of Michelson-Morley's equipment?
Okay, so you divert to this weird game where you start.
What is the sensitivity of Michelson-Morley's equipment? Could they detect a 1 degree?
Killerman, they give the subscription.
Yes, according to Einstein. According to Einstein, even it was over 10 times.
Could Michelson-Morley detect?
Dude, you think that you win a debate if you censor the other person, Bob? Is that what you think?
Interferometry in 1885 or whenever he did it.
I can ask you a question. Do you think that if you just don't let the other person say something, that somehow you win?
Oh no, I've already won. I won when I signed in, but.
Okay. You didn't answer my question.
I wanted to make that point, and you kept trying to interrupt the point, and I wasn't allowing you to interrupt, which is your usual technique.
Okay, now what's actually happening?
You did it with Dr. H. You're not going to do it with me.
What's actually happening is I'm trying to calmly respond to you, and you're interrupting me. So please stop. So now what is actually happening here is that the interferometer was over 10 times more sensitive than it needed to be to detect the orbit of the Earth, which is supposedly 30 kilometers a second. That's why Einstein
detecting the orbit of the Earth. They weren't trying to.
Einstein said that it should have been decisive and shown friendship based on the displacement of the orbit of the Earth, and that we should have been able to detect it. Which is why he
can detect the orbit of the Earth with $100 worth of equipment.
Wait, you're changing the subject. So you said
I have detected the orbit of the Earth with $100 worth of equipment.
You claim they weren't.
It is designed to do that. It's not designed to detect the speed of light.
You claim that they weren't trying to detect the orbit, but even in Einstein's own words, he said, after seeing the results of Michelson-Morley, I've come to the conclusion that no optical experiment, which means light, because interferometry uses light, Michelson-Morley used light.
Oh, okay, so you agree with Einstein. Excellent. That Michelson-Morley couldn't have detected the movement of Earth. I didn't detect the movement of Earth with light.
Okay, wait, so he said, I've come to the conclusion, after looking at Michelson-Morley, that no optical experiment can detect the motion of the Earth, even though it moves around the sun.
Okay, great. So you agree with Einstein that Michelson-Morley could not have detected the orbit of the Earth. I have detected the orbit of Earth, and I did not use an optical device to do it.
But the point is that you claim they weren't trying to, but actually they thought that they were going to detect the motion of the Earth of 30 kilometers a second with the fringe shift, and then they didn't get the fringe shift like they thought. So then Okay, in the Sagnac effect, are you detecting the motion of an object, yes or no?
You're detecting rotation, yes.
Okay, so
and you're detecting speed of light in specifically in their experiment, they were detecting the speed of light.
Okay, so you're saying that the fringe shift detects the motion.
Well, it detects the phase of the light, is what it does.
And it helps you detect the motion, right?
It detects the speed, it detects the wavelengths of light coming through a medium. It was designed to do that. It was designed to detect interference patterns. And if light was being transmitted via a medium such as ether, because of the motion of the Earth, light in one direction would have a different wavelength, a different phase than the other, than 190 degrees to it, which is what they set up.
Duh. So does the Sagnac effect detect the motion of Earth, yes or no?
It can detect the rotation of Earth, yes.
Okay, so then you can use interferometry to detect the motion of Earth.
Rotation, not the motion through orbit.
Okay, so then if they were expecting a fringe shift based on the orbit of the Earth,
the subscription,
then they would have been detecting the orbit of the Earth, just like we allegedly detect the rotation, right, Bob?
If there was ether, they should have detected a change in the speed of light based on the orbit of Earth. Yes.
But wait,
now,
you
I've
just
answered
conceded
that 12 different times, and you've asked it 12 different times.
Well, you just
haven't asked, Austin, was how I detected the motion of Earth in orbit. You don't have that curiosity in your head
because you won't.
Trying, like a dog, you're trying to get on this little bone, and you think by asking me a dozen times the same question, somehow you're going to get a different answer.
No, it's because
Would you like to know how I detected the actual orbit of Earth?
No, you're trying to avoid the actual point here. And so
all right, I'm not going to answer any more questions on Michelson-Morley. I'm not going to address them. I will address my detection of the orbit of the Earth if you would like, but I'm done with this subject. I've already addressed it.
Cool, then I get to recap it, I guess. So I had Bob admit that you can't actually, or that you can detect the curved path or movement of an object using interferometry, like the Sagnac effect. I said, do you agree you can even do that without the ether? He said, yes, of course, that's what we do. Then he just now said that the only reason that they didn't detect it was because there was no ether. But he actually admitted that even without an ether, you can detect the rotation or motion.
Atomic thing, subscription.
The motion of an object in a curved path. So he's just double speaking, and that's why he wants to move on. The actual facts are that they were like, dang, why are we not detecting the curved path of the Earth around the sun? Because we should be able to do that, and we can't. So then Einstein came in, and he changed Newton's theory, which said that the Earth was curving, right? Newton said the Earth was going in an actual curved path around the sun because of the force of gravity. Einstein came in and said, no. If you were on the sun, it would look like the Earth is curved around it. But if you're on the Earth, it's actually going in a straight path. It's free falling in a linear path with a linear speed, a straight line. So that's why we didn't detect it with the interferometry. Because on the Earth is not curving, it's actually going straight. Okay, so you cannot just say Michelson-Morley disproved the ether. You have to say, we had to get rid of the ether and then change the orbital mechanics from Newtonian to Einsteinian to try to explain why we did not detect the orbit with the interference pattern. This is just a fact. And for 7 or 8 straight years, anti-fighters have run around and claimed that it disproved the ether and that's all it did and it had nothing to do with the orbit.
Are you done, Austin?
Do you agree with what I said?
Okay, so here's the problem that we run into, and this is characteristic number 4, poor scientific reasoning. Austin is trying to compare a 15 degree per hour rotation, 360 degrees in a single day, with a rotational speed of 1 degree per day. All right, I very clearly said that it does detect rotation, especially on the Earth, and that is the principle behind a laser ring gyro. So my position has unchanged.
Well, your position is contradictory because you're claiming that you can detect the rotation of an object like the Sagnac effect. So you're claiming that the interferometry...
He's confabulating the orbit of the Earth with the rotation of the Earth.
What's the difference?
Quite a bit.
Name it.
360 degrees per day, or 359 degrees per day.
Okay, but what's the physical difference?
One is many orders of magnitude larger than the other.
Okay, are you saying Michelson-Morley wasn't sensitive enough to detect the orbit?
I don't think that they were, no.
Okay, well, you're incorrect, right? It was known to be over 10 times more sensitive. It was actually tested.
You keep repeating Einstein, and Einstein was saying that if the ether existed, Michelson-Morley's equipment was more than enough sensitive to detect it. They did not, because the ether does not exist. Ether is a construct of man, like space-time is. The difference is Michelson-Morley disproved the existence of ether. Eddington and CERN and LIGO demonstrated the existence of space-time. So, and the fact that we have to adjust GPS satellite time signals, and we have to adjust the orbit of Mercury with relativistic corrections based on a number of factors, specifically with Mercury, the proximity to the massive sun, that has a relativistic effect.
Okay, so you're just saying patently wrong things. You said that the Michelson-Morley device
you're welcome to try and disprove me wrong.
I am, yeah. You said the Michelson-Morley device wasn't sensitive enough to detect the orbit, and that all Einstein was saying is that if there was an ether, it would have detected it. Now, the actual truth is they actually tested the Michelson-Morley interferometer on other objects, and they proved that it was over 10 times more sensitive than it needed to be to detect it, which means they proved that the interferometer can actually measure the motion
of. Do you believe that Michelson-Morley disproved the orbit of the Earth? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
Okay, but let's make the point here. You claimed it wasn't sensitive enough, but I just proved you are incorrect. They proved it by measuring.
The audience to decide who has the more reasonable explanation.
Well, actually, it's interesting. Reading the chat just proves these people.
I demonstrated the orbit of the Earth.
Well, yes. Like just real fast, bro. It's very simple because
you've had time. You've had time to deal with that. And I've already told you I'm not going to address it anymore.
There's one more point. There's one more point.
I here while you gave your sermon. All right.
Well, you're just denying reality. You're lying to the audience. You're lying to the audience.
We can move on to the next thing, or we can end it now. Your choice.
Look how hard the chat's coping to claim that he's winning. So what actually happened, right, was you said it wasn't sensitive enough. Wrong. You claimed that it only disproved
This is the same audience,
wrong.
Austin, that was calling to bring you up and saying that all the Globers were afraid of you. But now who are they supporting? What's that? What does W-Bob mean, Austin?
The Globe Earthers are the ones that are obviously just spamming it, and it's funny because it's just objective that you lost.
I took the audience from you, Austin.
Dude, okay,
I'll probably get another thousand followers from this. All right.
I'm not gonna lie. I find you a bit.
That's probably true, actually.
Yeah, but he's kind of cringe, right? So, but it's all good. Just to wrap it up, the other problem with it is, right, that they had to come in and say, okay, well, yeah, the Earth is orbiting the sun, but you can't detect it.
And I'll just go on mute and let you finish.
Dude, don't you agree that like some people may just want to kind of understand it, dude? Okay, because you guys misrepresent it. So whether the Earth's a globe or not, you shouldn't have to misrepresent stuff. So it was the biggest thing that ever happened in physics in the last century, dude. It's called the most famous failed experiment ever. Right, because it changed.
You got Caleb there, Witsit. You want to move on?
Soup, thank you. F1, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the subscriptions. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you just got Caleb. Do you want to move on to the next thing?
Well, real fast.
I'm starting this. I'd like to make a series on you. I was planning on debating you because you had one of your minions come and challenge me. And I was actually preparing some very, very interesting things that would have caught you completely off guard. But this was a target of opportunity. I saw you up there. So here I am, and I just took you out. Now, do you want to go to the next subject, or do you want to end it now?
Dude, how creepy does it sound when you say stuff like that? Like, Flat Earth is so stupid that I obsessively stalk a Flat Earther around the internet. That's so weird. But it's all good, brother. So what I'm trying to say is there's a side note just so the audience will know, right? Like, this was the...
Wait, I don't think that's him tracking around the internet. I think he's just like, it's like the normal, like, people disagree on topics. Right, they're gonna one person who's known in the community is gonna then debate another user about them. You haven't debated them yet, then you finally debate them. I don't think that's obsessively. I'm just saying, I don't think that's necessarily
Witsit and I have had many talks in the past. We're old friends.
I actually said I'm not going to debate him anymore.
Out there, I think we'll probably go I'll probably buy he and his wife dinner one night, and we'll have a beer together.
Okay,
but
Can I just wrap? Like, I get you want to move on, and that's cool. I'm interested in hearing your claim that you detected the orbit. That's cool. But
Go right ahead.
I just want to make this point real quick. So, like, it was a big deal. It changed all of physics, and that's why we have relativity to this day, right? And the idea is that matter contracts and time slows down. And so when you try to measure the Earth's orbit from the Earth, since the apparatus is contracting just the right amount and time is slowing down just the right amount, that it'll look like the Earth is not moving. Because there should have been a separation between the light beams that showed the Earth was moving, but actually the apparatus contracted and it made it look like the Earth wasn't moving. This is actual official physics of today. You guys believe that matter?
Do they call that the Lorentz contraction?
Yes.
Okay, great. Is the Michelson-Morley experiment the only time that's ever been demonstrated?
Well, you guys definitely reify it in other situations, but you guys claim.
Okay, so we've demonstrated it with other things.
No, you haven't.
Like we made it up to.
No.
It's not like we ad hoc this one.
No, you guys haven't. So you guys claim it's impossible to measure.
Can we get on? Can we just move on from this? I'm really getting tired of it.
Because you can't debate it.
Mike, thank you for the subscription.
So basically, what they're saying is if there's a ruler, if you're going to go measure 5 feet, if it's moving, it contracts. But when you go over there with your,
I'm aware of it. Let's move on to the next subject, okay?
But it's pretty wild. Most people don't know it. If you go over there with your ruler and try to measure that the wall contracted, your ruler contracted and shrank the same amount. So it'll look like it was the same size, but it contracted. So when you claim that they've verified it, that goes against the claim itself. It says you can't verify it from the Earth because whatever you use to measure it will also contract. And then this last thing I'm trying to make, if you'll just give me just a second, was that there was an interference pattern detected. It got around 6 kilometers a second, right? So like 1/5 of the predicted value. And Einstein said, oh, that's just instrumental error. It's not real. So what that means is if that is real, it refutes the claim the Earth is orbiting. According to Einstein, his theory of relativity would fall like a house of cards.
All right, so let's examine that. He claimed that it was instrument error, and he's Einstein. All right, he's the guy that literally developed an entire branch of physics. So why do you, Austin, feel that Einstein was wrong on that assessment?
Yeah, well, he even admitted that he may be wrong himself. He said, I just can't think of anything else. If it's not instrumental error, then the theory of relativity is wrong, and I can't explain.
Okay, and we've demonstrated the theory of relativity is very right.
Except that it's
now,
off
there's
by
going
83%.
There's going to be another theory after this one. It's just not here yet. And someday, the thing that disproves current science is better science in the future. My kids may come up with something that may overcome Einstein, but it's a pretty big hill to climb, and you really you have to explain everything that Newton said. You have to explain everything that Einstein said, and then you need to explain more. So sitting down and saying, well, I'm not going to believe it's an instrument error, therefore Einstein's relativity is wrong, is disingenuous at best.
Everything's intrinsically electromagnetic. I can easily replace it.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that.
I can replace it with way more accuracy because I'm not limited to proportion of mass, so I can explain galaxy rotational speeds and all of that. But
of course,
what I'm trying to say, but look, you asked me why I think it's wrong.
Your Nobel Prize is waiting for you.
If you don't get Nobel Prizes unless you go with the status quo and the consensus. So if you don't,
you get Nobel Prizes for cutting edge science.
You mean like the guy who won one a few years ago and said there absolutely is an ether unequivocally?
Got no idea what you're talking about.
I'm guessing Frank Wilczek is a quack because he won a Nobel Prize in physics but says there's an ether. But anyway, the point
literature?
Is, what?
Was his Nobel Prize in literature?
No, it's in physics.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so but real fast
to the discovery of ether?
No. So
okay,
it's
I bet you
BT, like
chunky, Rocky Road ice cream too, but that doesn't mean that, my French vanilla is bad.
Zio, I appreciate the subscription.
All right, so let's move on to the next subject there, Chief.
Okay, but can I answer your question? You said if it's not, or why do I think it's wrong that he said it was instrumental error? The reason is, if it's just instrumental error, it would be random, right? And it wouldn't change based on direction, right? Because like the propagation rate of the light is faster east to west. Even though it should be C, constant in all reference frames according to relativity, it changes east to west. That's why I said, bro,
what's the direction of rotation of the Earth?
He said if that's not instrumental error.
What's the direction of the rotation of the Earth, which is a much faster rotation?
It rotates east. Okay.
It rotates from west to east. Okay.
Yeah,
could that have had an effect on? Could that have had an effect on his equipment, considering that's the entire function of a freaking laser ring gyro?
No, not according to relativity. You would not have had an effect on the speed of light.
So you say.
Okay, I'm just like you don't want to let me answer the question, and then it would have been over.
On to the next subject, Austin.
We already would
done this.
Dude, Bob, to be fair, Bob, we already would have if you just let me say the 30-second answer to your question.
All right, 30 seconds. I'm going on.
Okay, so why do I not agree with instrumental error? Well, that wouldn't change with direction, right? If the instrument doesn't care, like if your clock is messed up and it's a second behind, it doesn't only mess up when you move your hand to the left, right? If an instrument's messed up, it always is messed up. The error stays the same, but it only happens with that specific direction, and it changes with altitude, proving it can't be randomized instrumental error, nor can it be systematic error because it changes with different variables consistently, including the equinoxes and the movement of the sky. According to relativity himself, the test that's been verified over 5,200,000 times by Dayton Miller and has been done in 2020 with millimeter precision, that if that was the case, which has been proven, that relativity falls like a house of cards. So according to Einstein himself, it's been disproven.
Binomial, I appreciate this description.
So the Earth's not orbiting. It's been physically, empirically disproven.
You can pick one more subject that I'll do, or we can end it now. Your choice.
Well, so we just to clarify, you can't prove the Earth is orbiting.
No, you've already had your 30 seconds. You've already had your 30 seconds. We either need to move on.
We are.
I've got crap to do tonight.
Okay. I mean, we're moving on. Yeah, like you can't prove the orbit of the Earth. You can't prove the rotation.
Okay, so you had your 30 seconds. Now you want another 30 seconds? We'll give you another 30 seconds. Go right ahead. I'm here to accommodate your needs.
Okay. So there's an observation on the Earth where, based on where the sun sets, 2 times a year, I think it's in September and February, you can see Canigou Mountain from 163 miles away from just 1,000 feet up. So based on the globe Earth math, there should be over 10,000 feet of Earth curvature blocking those mountains, right? So that means the top of the mountain should be more than 1,000 feet below the curve of the Earth. And every year on those days when the sun sets behind it, you can see the silhouette of the mountains. So you can't see the mountains all day until the sun sets behind it. You can see the silhouette of it. So
are you seriously going to this 5-year-old 24/7 flat Earth Discord argument that's been disproven 12,000 times, including about 4 times by me?
No, you're actually talking about a different observation, the infrared observations of
No, I'm not. I'm talking about the original Canigou Mountain observation where you can see it in the sunset twice a year because the sun's right behind it. Now, obviously, that's from 1,000 feet of elevation is your observer height on that, and you're only seeing the top 1,000 feet or so of a 9,000-foot mountain. You conveniently forget that you can't see 8,000 feet of the mountain, and you conveniently forget it's obviously possible, looking at Walter Bisslin's advanced Earth curve calculator, especially if you put standard refraction in. So I'm not even going to bother with that. That argument is so old and has been disproven so many times. I'm embarrassed for you to even try and bring that up with me.
Okay, so we've taken away the orbit and the rotation of the motion. Now I'm taking away the curvature because you can claim it's been disproven, but you're wrong. There isn't 9,000 feet of the mountain it's missing, or 8,000 feet. That's patently wrong. You can do an angular assessment of the mountain and realize that there's much more of the mountain than that. That's patently wrong. And of course, you can't just claim it's refraction, which I guess magically the atmosphere conspires with the Earth to trick everyone into thinking it's flat. On those 2 days a year, it just so happens there always happens to be just the right amount of refraction on those 2 days a year, predictably, that people travel from all around the world to see this. Coincidentally, they're actually traveling around the world to see something that isn't there. It's just an illusion. And the silhouette, meaning the outline, the shadow of a mountain, is refracted up to conspire with the world to make you think it's flat. Is that your claim, Bob? Yeah, I don't think you were ready for that one.
Bob, are you there? Maybe he left or something. I don't know.
He's gonna have a story as to why something coincidentally happened or something.
No, I'm right here.
Okay.
Do you not hear me?
No, we do.
Hear you now.
No,
you were
it's
muted.
a standard. It's a normal expected finding on a globe. That's why it's so predictable. Standard refraction is standard refraction. It's the same reason that we see Chicago from 180-foot observer height across Lake Michigan. We see exactly what we're supposed to see on a globe.
But then why don't we
guys conveniently, Jay Tolan Media One with Mount San Jacinto misidentified a missing 6,000 feet of that mountain.
Why are you bringing up other people?
Because it's the same thing. It's the classic I see too far flat Earth image that proves the globe. You never address where the bottom of that mountain is. You never address the fact that we see exactly what the curve calculator says we should see.
No, we literally don't. The curve calculator says that the entire mountain should be blocked. Not. Yes, it does. It says there should be. It says that there should be 10,000 feet of curvature. No. 9,000. Do you want to bet?
Yeah.
What do you want to bet?
I'll bet you dinner if I'm ever out in your neck of the woods.
Dude, I don't want to hang out with you, man. So it's very simple, bro. Like, it's supposed to be behind the curve. If I was to believe in the globe, right, I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's refraction. And I would have to say it's standard refraction. It must happen pretty much every day. I get that, right? You can believe that
every year. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it has to happen every day.
Why do you see it on those particular days?
Because that's what I'm saying. The reason you see it is because the sun sets behind the mountains on those days.
Right.
Yeah, but you're going to have to claim that amount of refraction happens every day because it would be
it's a standard amount of refraction, 6.5 degrees per kilometer lapse rate. That's normal. We measure that twice a day, every day, from thousands of airports throughout the country.
Okay.
We have a balloon that goes up from Gaylord, not far from me.
Yeah,
and it goes up, and you can track the temperature lapse rate and the pressure all the way up to 50,000 feet.
Okay, yeah.
And you can track the actual path of the balloon.
And so just to clarify here as the side note, do you agree that if we take your equation from Walter Bislin, which is built upon Andrew Thomas Young, that refraction equation, if we take it and we send out our own balloons or our drones, and then we get all the measurements, that we should be able to plug it into the equation and then be able to precisely and exactly predict what we're going to see in the distance?
Characteristic number 5, inappropriate expectation of perfection from science.
Okay,
because
whatever.
You may not necessarily on a weather balloon measure humidity, for example, which does have a slight effect on it.
You can measure. You can absolutely measure humidity.
It will be very close. Yes, it will be very close.
Well, normally you guys claim humidity is basically irrelevant, and of course you actually can measure humidity.
It has to do with air density.
So can you answer the question? So if we measure those variables before we make our observation, we should be able to plug it into the equation. And
you will get a very accurate prediction from it, yes.
Right. So, and you agree that if you don't, it falsifies your refraction claim, thus the globe?
No, you will get an accurate prediction from it, which has an error bar on it.
So, but if it isn't an accurate prediction, then it would falsify your refraction claim and then the globe. Right?
Refraction is not falsifiable. It's already been tested. You can test refraction directly.
No,
you don't even have to use the lapse rate.
I'm not saying...
All you need is a red and a green laser and a clear line of sight. And what you do is you measure the difference in refraction between the red laser and the green laser, and that tells you the refraction between the 2 points, between the emitter and the target.
I'm not saying falsify refraction as a phenomena. We know that exists, of course. We have Snell's law. You can verify. I'm saying your specific rate of refraction that you're claiming just always makes the globe Earth look like it's flat.
It doesn't make the globe Earth look like it's flat. It makes it look like a slightly larger sphere.
Well, 15 to 20% on average, and sometimes like 3, 4, 5.
All right. How does refraction affect our line of sight for distant targets, Austin? I'll give you the 2 choices.
No, I know what you believe.
It's some weird mathematical formula, or 2, it has the effect of making the Earth appear larger than it is. It increases the radius of the Earth, the apparent radius of the Earth.
What? No, I don't have to answer your false dichotomy.
Okay, well, then quite frankly, what refraction does is it has the effect. The easiest way to measure refraction, or to take into account refraction on a long distance sighting like a curve calculator, is to use it to vary the apparent radius of the Earth. That's why we talk about standard refraction being 7/6 R.
Okay, so do you? Yeah, I get it.
The radius of the Earth, the apparent radius of the Earth.
Yeah, just so everyone
increase the physical radius, it increases the apparent radius.
Right. So everyone understands what he's saying is that when you go out on the Earth and you look at it, they say that on average, it looks like it's 15 to 20% bigger than the globe predicts that it is. And so then they call that standard refraction. Now, what I'm saying is, do you agree that shadows cannot refract?
I've got no freaking idea.
Well, don't you agree shadow is the absence of light?
Yeah.
Don't you agree that refraction is about light?
Okay, well, if there's a shadow on an object, like a mountain, I would agree that's because the mountain is refracted, the shadow will be refracted with it.
So can you show a test that proves that? Because of course, shadows are absence of light. So
does the shadow occur on a point on the mountain?
Does the shadow occur? The shadow is the silhouette of
the mountain. But a shadow of one mountain on another mountain, for example, appears at a certain point on that mountain.
We're talking about a silhouette of the mountains with the sun
behind
it.
I don't know how it would handle silhouettes.
Right. So you agree you just blindly believe it because you have to for the globe to be true?
No, I agree with it because refraction is a thing, and our standard refraction is a very accurate estimation of what that refraction is.
I agree that refraction
is, of course, you can get temperature inversions, you can get layers of the atmosphere. Standard refraction is 6.5 degrees per kilometer. If you have a 2-degree change in a meter, all right, what's that in what's the lapse rate per kilometer in that 1 meter layer of air?
I'm not sure why
it's 20 or 30. It's 20 or 30 degrees, which is much higher than the standard lapse rate.
Okay, but why do you always?
That one layer will give you a vastly different refraction index than the overall column of air up to a kilometer would give you.
But why do you always take the point you're supposed to be responding to and then just transition into some other completely unrelated point and then start asking me questions as a gotcha quiz or something?
Well,
like you just claimed that shadows can refract.
I understand the point being made, Austin, and I'm using this as an example of what I'm saying. So, for example, when you look at the Black Swan oil rigs, you notice that the bottom of the oil rigs is not distorted. There is a very specific point on that oil rig that has massive distortion, and then it's back to a little bit more normal distortion again. That's why the flame boom looks like an S.
That's a red herring fallacy. We're talking about.
That's not a red herring fallacy. That's
then why won't you let me explain why it is one? Then why wouldn't you let me explain why it is one if you're so sure? So it's a red herring.
Okay, well, Austin, I'll tell you what. Let's just go one step further. I don't give a rat's ass about your claim of refraction or of logical fallacy, because no scientific observation or theory has ever been disproven simply by calling it a fallacy. There's something called a fallacy, which means you can come to the correct conclusion even if your argument is fallacious.
That's
so
right.
It is not disproving it. You need to disprove it with actual data.
Okay. Now, I never said that the fallacy disproves the conclusion. What it does is it invalidates your argument.
Then just leave your claims of logical fallacy at the door.
No, that's not how debate works, because what it shows is that your argument is invalid.
I'm not debating
dismissed.
you, Austin.
This is literally a debate.
I'm not debating you, Austin. I'm explaining facts to you.
So you're admitting that you do use.
I'm trying to correct your misconceptions.
So you just admit and embrace that you use fallacies and you think it's cool and it
I don't really give a rat's behind about your claim of fallacies.
Do you agree that a fallacious argument is an invalid one?
No, I do not, because
it
will necessarily lead to an invalid conclusion, which
I didn't say that.
Is concerned with.
I didn't say that it leads to an invalid conclusion.
All right, so it's a pointless matter. This is not a formal debate. This is not an exercise in formal logic.
Yikes, bro.
You are sitting down, shouting fallacy, thinking that somehow that disproves my point. It does
not.
Actually,
what I was trying to do was point out that it was a red herring, which is something that creates the illusion as if it's related, but it's actually a tactic used to divert. When I was actually
talking about... They're absolutely related, Austin, so your use of the term red herring is incorrect.
I explained that it appears to be somewhat related, but it's actually tactically implemented to divert away from the specific point. The reason that was a red herring is we were talking about shadows, and can shadows refract?
I already answered your question on shadows. I don't know.
Okay, so we were talking about shadows and can they refract? You started talking.
I answered that. I said I didn't know, and we moved beyond it. Then you went into refraction, and I'm schooling you on refraction.
Okay, but it should be simple to know, because refraction is, of course, light in relation to different mediums, right? Or different densities of mediums, right? So that's how light, quote unquote, travels through different mediums. So, of course, a shadow is the absence of light. It's a privation. It's nothing in and of itself. It's just the absence of light. So, of course, that can't apply to, refraction cannot apply to a shadow because it isn't light, Bob.
How do you know the shadow's there?
We actually see the silhouette of the mountain, which is
okay,
a shadow.
So we're seeing something that is real and does reflect light, correct? Are we seeing it based on reflected light?
No, because we don't. Are we seeing
it because we have photoreceptors in our eyes that determine that that is an object?
No, we do not see the mountain because of reflected light. What we see is the silhouette of the mountain. For anyone that doesn't know,
silhouette at the position of the mountain?
Yes, and the problem is,
how do we know where the position of the mountain is?
Because we observed on it.
Okay, can we tell the position of the mountain in the dark where we can't see anything and we don't have any light?
We're not in the dark. There is sunlight, but this mountain is just a silhouette.
So you don't understand why that invalidates your position. So go ahead.
We see the silhouette of the mountain with the sun as the backdrop. Right now, the way that we know that we're not seeing the mountain because of reflected light is because you don't see the mountain at all until the sun gets behind it. Okay, so we're just seeing the shadow of the mountain, which means, of course, the shadow itself cannot be lifted up and refracted.
But we do see the light that's around the shadow, though, right?
Yes.
Okay, and is that light refracted?
You can claim it is refracted, yes, but that doesn't change the fact that
this has been a little slice of heaven. I hope somebody records this and has sent it to me.
Me too, dude. You're probably going to go viral.
Look, it's 10 o'clock at night. We've been at this for quite some time. It actually has been a joy to speak with you, Austin. If it's all right with the host, why don't we schedule another time to get together?
Yeah, DM me about that. I've followed you, Bob. We already have messaged back and forth.
Yep.
Witsit, just follow me back as well, and we can set up like a further date for that.
All right.
All right.
But I do want to end up with one thing, Austin, the one question that you never asked, which I thought you would have really been interested in, and that is, how did I detect the orbit of the Earth? I set up something called a meteor fence, which involves forward scatter of radio waves. So I have a Yagi antenna on top of my house, an old TV antenna, and I point it at channel 2 in western Nebraska, which is some 1,500 kilometers from me. Obviously, I cannot receive the signal from that TV station because of, guess what, the curve of the Earth. However, when a meteor comes 80 kilometers overhead and leaves an ionized trail behind it, the signal bounces off that trail and comes down and gives me a detection on my radio here. And by looking at the time, the number of detections per hour, what happens is I find that I get more detections between 12 midnight and 12 noon than I get between 12 noon and 12 midnight. And the reason for that is that you get more bugs on the windshield of your car than you get on the back window. So the leading edge of the Earth in our orbit is literally running into more meteors than the trailing edge is. And as a result of that, that is an indirect measure of the direction of our orbit around the sun. So we can talk about that more next time if you would like. I'll even show you the equipment, and then we'll talk about how I tracked the ISS and determined its speed and location and altitude.
Yeah, I've done that. Who cares?
All right. So thank you very much for having me, Parker. I do appreciate it, Witsit. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to our next little chat. You are a worthy opponent, and I enjoy having a discussion with you.
All right, man. Nice talking to you guys. The Earth is stationary plane, my guy. It's okay. Don't make it weird. All right. Much love.
Much love. Peace out.
Later.
All right, everyone. I'm gonna get off for tonight, everyone. Hopefully, everyone had a good day. If you do want to support me, as always, Venmo and Cash App in the bio, everyone. Gifts have been off because we've been engaging in CoinCot. We're boycotting TikToks because they've been suppressing BIPOC creators, so we're standing in solidarity and whatnot. So do Venmo and Cash App if you would like to. Tomorrow I will be on at my around my normal time, I'm guessing, or actually tomorrow it should be at 3:30. 3:30 is when I should be live. David, thank you so much for the $10 on on Cash App. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it. But yeah, is there anything we should do real quick before I do get off, everyone? We've got 4,000 people in here. Also, follow me if you have not already, everyone. I go live literally every single day. We do a bunch of different types of debates. So do follow me if you have not already, y'all. Let's see. Is Dean live, everyone? If Dean is live, let's go raid Dean. Everyone, let's go raid Dean. Look up It's Dean. Spam Parker raid, spam love from Parker, everyone. Go to It's Dean. Spam Parker raid, spam love from Parker. Again, 2 A's, 2 N's, everyone. Love y'all so much. Have a fantastic night, everyone. It's Dean. Spam Parker raid, spam love from Parker, everyone. All right, y'all. Have a good night, everyone. Peace out, y'all.